Hello everybody and welcome to Anglesey for the first of our two-day BRSCC FunCup Into the Night event here. Behind me we've got the grid for round 3 of the FunCup Endurance Championship. Now for fans of the FunCup, you'll be actually seeing them twice today. They've got 2 3-hour races with the second race into the night. One team who had a fantastic result at Silverstone was the Enduro Axiometrics team, and next to me we have Chris Weatherall as the pole sitting car leaves now. Great draw and also great results at Silverstone.
Yeah, Silverstone was fantastic. I mean, coming top 10, given the quality of the field, I think inside the top 10 nowadays is pretty darn good. We were happy. We've had a couple of bad runs, and it was just really nice to get the reward for doing what we did. So yeah, fantastic.
And it's double duties for Enduro Motorsport because Marcus Clutton and Morgan Tilbrook are over at Donington Park with the McLaren and British GTs. So a little bit of a scaled down operation, but that still didn't stop you helping Track Focus with their engine change. Great camaraderie.
Well, no, I think that's the spirit of FunCup though, isn't it? We're all here together. We're here to enjoy ourselves as well. It's a bit more relaxed. So yeah, but happy to help out wherever we can.
Excellent stuff. We'll catch up later, Chris. So as the cars leave the assembly area to start their green flag lap, I'll hand you over to Scott Woodwis, who will take you through the grid for the first of our 3-hour FunCup Endurance Championship races.
And immediately it looks as though it is going to be the Smiths that have jumped into the lead as they head out through the right hand of the hairpin into Rocket for the first time, and now onto the back straight. So it is going to be car 263 that leads the way from where they started, from the front row of the grid. The Greenswell Motorsport car with Vic Sam Smith at the wheel. They charge their way through the right-hander as they make their way up towards the Rocket complex. The first time I move from the Stobart Sport car up the inside from third on the grid as they turn their way in. And all the cars funneling their way through that complex into Peel for the first time now. But it's Sam Smith who leads the way with the Stobart Sport car with Colin Kingsthorpe at the wheel up to second place. As they make their way through, it's obviously an endurance race. It can't all be won on the first lap. Everyone's going to try and make their way through. Now the car you want to watch for from the back is the Uvia Hoffman's Lotus car, because that car started right at the back of the grid. As the rule in FunCup is if you win the previous race, you have to start at the back of the grid. But not even that stopping Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, because they managed to still win the first race, the race at Silverstone, but even if they won. Now the car off the back, I think that's one of the Agua Caliente cars that's one off the road. It's probably, I think, the 171 car with Rob Perry at the wheel. So he's managed to get that one. Is up the inside, goes, looks the GT radial machine, number 97 with Ellis Hadley. Looking to make a move on Mark Home and the Team Viking machine to come up to the hairpin for the first time. But it's Sam Smith who leads then, from Colin Kingsthorpe in second place. Car number 188, who was the pole man. That is John Curry, who's down to third position. And up through the right-hander of Rocket, and now down the back straight through School Corner. And the 99 car's looking strong after it starting fourth position. Car number 99 that was started by Don Jackson. But now he's under threat already from the GT radial machine of Ellis Hadley's. They head up the hill and turn into the first part of the Rocket complex. Oh, and there's a bit of a skirmish at the back. I think that was Neil Plymouth's car having a battle there, I think, with Rob Perry. So just elbowing his way past at the top of the hill. And so all these FunCup cars, if it's the first time you're watching FunCup, they all have identical 1.8 litre Volkswagen Audi Group tuned engines, but these are all essentially single-seater chassis with a silhouette body over them. And while they might look like a conventional Volkswagen Beetle, they definitely are not. They are purpose-built race cars and have no real relation at all to a Volkswagen Beetle, apart from just simply coincidentally looking like one with a body shape. So, end of the second lap. Of course, it's quite a lengthy race for these guys to handle, 3 hours. And the gap now already 1.9 seconds between Greenswell Motorsport. Sam Smith, the former Ferrari racer, he's here with his family members. In fact, he's part of a four-man squad for this race, because not only is he joined by his family members, Simon and Ted Smith, but also he's joined by the racing veteran that is Nigel Greenswell, who once again is racing against his own cars. So he's already been out in the Team Viking car this year and also shared the CCS media machine. So I think by the end of the season he'll make it around the full around the full paddock. But certainly enjoying himself in a four-car effort, and he'll be taking over the stints. We have got notes of who's in which stints. We'll be able to tell you at pit stops who is getting into which car. We'll be keeping tabs on that as the race goes on. So Greenswell Motorsport, then across the line, and the first proper flying lap, has a 1.9 second lead over Stobart Sport in second place. And Enduro Motorsport in car number 188, John Curry, is in third. JPR Black Widows is fourth in car number 99. And it's Hadley fifth for GT Radial. Sixth is the number 110 car of Mark Home. Team Greenheath in 7th place. Agua Caliente is 8th, and it's track focused and PLR Racing in the top 10. A lock up for the Agua Caliente car. It's Rob Perry again. Oh, he's all over the place. He goes over through the corkscrew. And he's under threat now from the MJ Tech GT car, also up there looking strong as the 101 machine. That's a Stand 2 Motorsport car that was started by Martin Compton. So some great battles in the midfield in the bottom end of the top 10 positions, but it's a bit of a train forming here behind the what looks to be the Enduro Motorsport car, but they're also starting to keep the Stobart Sport car in touch. Great scrap going on here. I think the MJ Tech GT car 61, which has Martin Gibson at the wheel, the former truck racer, has managed to squeeze past Rob Perry as they come through the right-hander up through Church for the fourth time. Also then there's Martin Compton there, and also look at the car behind them, because that is Farkini at the wheel of the double winning car at 262, and also trying to make progress, at least it seems that they've lost places from the back of the grid. It seems to be the Team Olympian car. They started in 14th place, and they've actually slipped down the order all the way to, where have they gone to in the order? They are currently 19th. They've lost 5 spots since they started. Under threat from the EDF Motorsport car 104. Which is Simon Coles. Also in there the 157, which has also lost a few spots as well. That's the Team Cordwell car that was started by, I think it was Brian Cordwell that started that car. No, John Cordwell, forgive me. Of course, Brian Cordwell in there as well. And also, so is, as we mentioned, former British F4 racer, Cian Jewis. So he's now also in that car for this weekend. It's his first time in FunCup, and usually been plying his craft in the single-seater ranks through British F4 and also more recently in BRDC F3. So he's looking to try and maybe get a bit more endurance experience here at Anglesey. It's a wonderful circuit based on the Welsh coast, right by the Irish Sea. It's one of the most picturesque circuits to go to. It's one of the best places to go to if you want a scenic circuit in the UK. And it's wonderful to be back after a couple of years absence thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, of course. It was November 2019 was the last time which we, the BRSCC, came here. I was looking up the inside of and how the anti-car into rocket goes. Martin Compton just trying to squeeze his way through. We should mention also the Greenstall Motorsport car 263, still with Sam Smith at the wheel, now has a 5-second lead after 4 laps, so he's really starting to stretch his advantage. And Stobart Sport has managed to pull away from Enduro Motorsport, the 188 car, by about 1.1 seconds. So they come see our next leading group here. There is the Enduro Motorsport car with Dom Jackson all over his rear wing as they come up through the left-hander at the bus stop. And it's Hadley might get a good run on the exit of the left-hander on the sprint, the short sprint down towards the left-hander. It's a very short front straight, so in terms of the start, you have to be very careful. But through turn 1, it's not a long run down towards the first corner, so you really have to pick your moment, whether a standing or a rolling start, and make sure you get the jump absolutely right. Now, Team Viking's also making pretty handy progress. They are they were in 6th position, but they're actually starting to, slip a little bit further back. Dom Jackson just holding off Ellis Hadley through the right-hander at Church, and now onto that back straight of School, up towards the Rocket Complex again. Now watch for 262, that's track focused. And they're going to go possibly 3 abreast towards the Rocket Complex as we now see inside number 14, that's Gary Bate. And he takes the position as he heads into the Rocket Complex. And also latching onto the tail there appears to be Neil Cliver, the most experienced man on the FunCup grid. He's pretty much been racing in the FunCup ever since it arrived in the UK back in around about 2002. So he's pretty much done every single FunCup race since then. And certainly using all that experience and putting it to good use. He shares that car with Ben Pitch. You can hear the tyre scores as they have to make their way through the corkscrew. So rather than use the international circuit, which the other championships which are racing this weekend will use, the shorter coastal circuit is in order for the FunCup cars. And that's just to add a little bit of extra variety to the weekend. The gap now has gone back up again to 7.6 seconds between Sam Smith and the Stobart Sport machine of Colin Kingsnorth. So there's a further 2.1 seconds gap between this scrap for third that's going on already in the early stages. There is the Stobart Sport car, formerly known as Truman's, but a brand new sponsor means they've been able to change their team name and their livery. It's one of the most striking liveries on the grid now. See how this Hadley just on the rear wing of Dom Jackson. It's quite key for some of the cars to start further back because the grid is mainly set by a random draw. It means that you've got to the only team that knows exactly where they're going to start is the team that won the previous race. That was Uwe Hoffmann's Lotus, and this is the second time they've done it in succession after they won at Donington Park and then again at Silverstone from the back of the grid. Their aim, of course, is to try and do that again this time. They've already moved up to 13th, so they started 22nd, but they've made up 9 spots in 6.5 laps, which is pretty impressive stuff from Farchini. And he'll hand over to Fabio Randaccio at the first of the pit stops. And they will then alternate as they go through as the race continues on. So we're already coming up to the first 10 minutes of this 3-hour race finish as Neil Cliver starts to put the pressure on the 110 car of Mark Home. Mark Home will share that car with Nick Nunn. There's a car already in the pit lane, and that I think is 262 track focus. So trouble already for one of the cars in the mix, Sean Cooper. So it looks like Sean Cooper's made it into pit lane. He has. He's pitted from 7th. So issues for the track focus machine early on. After just 10 minutes, that won't be a scheduled stop. It will be outside the pit window. And there it is in the pit lane. The team are having a look. Looks like it's, well, it might be McCalk. It might not be completely evident. Just so we can have a listen in. They're opening up the clamshell at the back of the car. So open up the back of the car. Now, what was it they might be looking at here? So unfortunately, problems early on for the track focus machine, which had started quite far up the grid, in fact, where it started up in 7th place, so it did fit from 7th and had maintained that position throughout the first few laps, but sadly issues for them. And I'm sure that possibly Jamie might be down there to maybe have a word and just find out from the team what the issue might be. They are checking the oil levels on the car, it looks like, with the dipstick going in and out, so whether it's an issue with the car in that sense, but unfortunate stuff for Track Focus, whose race hasn't really started as they'd planned, and they have to tumble down the timing sheets and possibly have to try and come again. Now up the inside there looks to be Ellis Hadley putting the attack on the 14 of Gary Bate. The Team Greenheath machine slides up the inside at the hairpin, and that's now him up into 5th position, so that's a move made. And now also trying to go on the attack is Mark Home and the yellow and black number 110 Team Viking machine. Neil Plymmer's in the mix as well for Team PLR, currently sat in 8th. Running out the top 10 is Agro Caliente in the 207 car, which is just in the background there, and then the MJ Tech GT car, which is car number 61. And that car, just reminded me of starter Martin Gibson, he'll probably be handing over to, I believe it's Scott Jeffs when it comes over to the first section of pit stops. So there is the Track Focus team still working away.
In the pit lane, we've got the Track Focus car who had an engine change after qualifying this morning, and Sean Cooper's just in the car at the moment. He's just talking to Ryan Connolly to find out what was going on with that. They're just also checking the antifreeze as well, and they're also saying about problems with the radio. I'm just going to dive in and quickly chat with Sean. We need to stop this. What's happened now? I'm sorry to hear this.
I don't know, to be honest. Obviously we had to change an engine after quali, really good result in quali, but yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. It didn't feel great from the beginning, to be honest, and it sort of got worse, so I thought I'd just bring it in.
Alright, hold on mate, we'll catch up later. Alright, that's Sean Cooper. We'll hand back to Scott Woodward, who'll take to the rest of the race.
Thank you, Jamie. That's unfortunate after the engine change earlier on for Track Focus. Their lap doesn't seem to be in because they had issues at both Donington and Silverstone. They had some suspension problems at Donington Park and they had further issues at Silverstone, so it really hasn't been the smoothest start to their season, where they've looked fairly competitive, but unfortunately haven't been able to translate that into results, and through no fault of the drivers, it's more simply the car is just not playing ball with them, at least in this early part of the season. But they'll be hoping that by the time we get to the next few rounds, it will hopefully be looking a little bit better. So now we're up towards the first 15 minutes of racing here in the 3rd round of the 2021 FunCup Endurance Championship. Greenswell Motorsport still leads the way now. Haven't had a timing up just yet. In fact, we have now 13.4 seconds is the gap between Stobart Sport and the leader. But now closing in on them is a rather fast starting JPR Black Widows, who of course have Dominic Jackson, who'll hand over to later in the race Steve Harris and also David Clark. So they're one of the Masters contenders in the field. So there is the MJ Tech GT car, and ahead of it now is Farkini in the Uvio Hoffman's Lotus machine. So that car has now moved up to 10th position. So a reminder, that starts at the back of the grid in 22nd and is already up in under 15 minutes, and that's 10 and a bit laps already into the second half of the field and into the top 10. So incredible stuff from the double race winners, who are really carving their way through, and they're actually closing in pretty quickly on that essentially leading group behind the Driscoll giving chase to the Greenswell Motorsport car. So up through Peel. And now as they make their way up towards out of the rocket complex into the Peel right-hander, I think there was a possible change going on there between Team Viking and Agro Caliente, I think. Just in front was Mark Home and the Agro Caliente car 207. That's the second of their cars, because the Matt Hogg and Rob Perry car was a bit further up. 207's Paul Turner, so they're having a scrap there. Enduro Motorsport has lost what was down to 4, but it's now gone from 4th to 8, so they've dropped back a little bit now. There's been a change in the order, so Enduro Motorsport have slipped from 4th to 8th. It means our GT Radio element now move up with Ellis Hadley at the wheel. Gary Bate in car 14 is up to 5th. Then it's now Neil Plymouth up into 6th and Mark Home into 7th. So that's PLR Racing P6, Team Viking P7. Just saw a glimpse there of the reigning champions, Team Olympian, car number 1, who they've had quite a bit of bad luck. They had a miscalculation on the fuel at Donington Park, which cost them what could have been a victory. And then they had a blown engine at Silverstone, which again cost them a chance of a strong result. And in many cases, while Uwe Hoffman's Lotus have been clearly one of the fastest cars out there, they might feel a tiny bit lucky to pick up those victories, and I think possibly Team Olympia might have been a bit hard done by the fact that they've been in contention, but just the good fortune and the reliability has not gone their way so far, much like other teams like Track Focused. And they'll be hoping if they can make some progress later on in the race, particularly when Riley Phillips and Christian Rose get at the wheel. They're looking to try and make amends for what's been quite a tough first couple of meetings. They're currently starting 15th at the moment. They've got the Jaakko Caliente car in front of them, but here's the leading group that's battling for second downwards. So Stobart Sport hold on to the lead then, still with Colin Kingsnorth at the wheel with car number 170. Of course, when the first pit window opens, we'll see a flurry of driver changes. There'll also be quite strategy on the fuel, so we'll see some drivers choosing not to refuel at certain points, depending on how heavy they are with the fuel, and that can be a factor as well in the early stints of this race, depending on how much fuel the cars tend to start with. And sometimes some teams will choose to double stint the fuel or choose to refuel at every pit stop. And when they do refuel, they can choose to either put 1 or 2 churns worth of fuel in, so it can affect the stints in terms of how quickly they can get in and out of pit stops. Getting into 3rd place looks as though, particularly Ellis Hadley going up instead of Dom Jackson. He went round the outside at School Corner. He might have track position on the first part of Rocket. He's now got Gary Bate and Neil Plymouth also closing in, and Neil Plymouth makes contact with Gary Bate. He tries to squeeze up the inside of the Greenheath car number 14th, but Gary just shut the door there and said, "You might be the most experienced man on the grid there, Neil," but that was never a move that was going to happen. So he's going to just shut the door and keep him going. But Neil's quite determined to try and get him back here as they come out of Peel and up towards the corkscrew once again, which is the downhill right-hander that takes them back towards the end of the circuit. And Hadley couldn't quite make that move stick for 3rd place. He's still holding on to P4 behind Dom Jackson, as Colin Kingsnorth continues to lead the way in this group and continue to lead in the whole race. Overall, still is Simon Smith, who's certainly putting the Greenswell Motorsport car in the mix. And I should have known better, and I'm going to apologise now. I said that Nigel Greenswell was driving for another team again, but he's also driving for his, of course, he's driving for his own again now, Greenswell Motorsport 263. So forgive me for being a little bit stupid there for a second, being in the stream. But yes, Nigel Greenswell now jumping into one of his cars with the Smith trio, and certainly paying dividends with Sam Smith, who, as we said, has got plenty of Ferrari experience, plenty of momentum. For Ellis Hadley round the outside at School Corner, who this time is alongside much quicker on the run into the first part of Rocket. And if Dom Jackson's not careful, he might leave the door open for, oops, I thought he was going to leave the door open there for the 99 of Dom Jackson, which he didn't, and thankfully Dom Jackson's, Gary Bate has gone through as well, so Dom Jackson did get edged out a little bit wide, and because of that he's lost 2 spots in one corner. So the momentum that Ellis Hadley carried into the Rocket complex has really helped, but what's also helping out is Neil Plymouth, who's also taken another place from him entering the corkscrew. So in the space of a few corners, Dom Jackson's gone from what was 3rd place down to 7th. As now into the pit lane goes Dom Jackson. Now, is it a problem for the 99? That's the second car that we've had pitting early, so unfortunately more issues for the 99 car. I'm sure that Jamie will probably be down there to spot what's going on, but that's another machine that's in trouble here at Anglesey early on, and we've only just gone towards the 20-minute mark. So now it's Ellis Hadley's turn to put the pressure on Colin Kingsnorth for Stobart Sport. So it's Kingsnorth 2nd, Ellis Hadley 3rd, Gary Bate 4th, and then Neil Plymouth in the Team PLR racing machine in 5th position. That car used to have different sponsorship in the form of Team Honeywell, used to be known as that car, so the familiar red FunCup car is working. There goes Team Viking, there's the Enduro Motorsport car, and there behind it, still closing in, is Farkini in the Uwe Hoffman's Lotus car. He's passed the MJ Tech machine, because Jaakko Caliente's lost a couple of places on that last lap. It was 9th, it's now 11th, so, and it's just in the background there, I just saw Farkini was trying to make a move on the 188 machine. and that is John Curry at the wheel. So John Curry did start a little bit further up the grid. He started on pole position. That's the pole position starting car, and he's already now being pushed down to 8th place, and he's now going to come under threat possibly to be put into 9th by the fast starting Farkini. There's the Dispatch Bay Express car. Andy Bicknell sharing that car with Harry Mailer, who took the fastest lap in the night session last night. So that car looking quick in the darkness, and who knows, might be, depending on results here, a possible contender for victory later on when it gets dark. So lap 15 in the books, and Greensaw Motorsports lead with Sam Smith at the wheel now 20.7 seconds at this point. As now we see Martin Compton putting Andy Bicknell under pressure. So 2-2-1 Dispatch Bay Express. There's one car we don't have here this weekend, which was pointed out when Jamie was having a chat with the Jura Motorsport squad, is that the car we don't have is the car which regularly Marcus Clutton would drive, but that car is not here because of the fact that they are competing, of course, in British GT. They've ventured out into the GT3 class in British GT this year on the wheel with a McLaren 720 GT3, so they're a bit spread out over 2 different parts of the country, Donington Park and Anglesey. As now we see that the Uwe Hopper's car has now got past Enduro Motorsports. They're now up to what is now 7th place. It was they all gained a place after the JPR Black Widows car pitted, and now they're into what will be 7th position because they're past Enduro Motorsports. So next up for them is to try and catch the Mark Home, Nick Nunn Team Viking car 110 to get themselves into the top 6. If they can manage to get themselves, by the time they get to the first pit stop, into the top 5, that'll be quite the stint for Farkini. We know they're quite fast starting cars, but we have seen cars carve their way through very, very quickly from the back of the field towards into a podium position. But it's impressive stuff from Farkini. Of course, former champion, was former champion with Graham Roberts, and very experienced. He's a real character in the pit, in the paddock. Is Farkini. He's one of the much loved personalities within the championship, and there's never a dull moment with Farkini around where it's in the car. So we're going to hand down to Jamie because he might have some possible information on what's happened with the JPR Black Widows car. So let's hand it over to Jamie and see what he has down in pit lane.
So we just had the 99 JPR Black Widows car came in with Dom Jackson behind the wheel. He was having a great first stint, but this was the second car that had an engine change in between the qualifying and the race, and they're experiencing currently overheating issues at the moment. So they brought the car in, gave it a check over, and the team are happy that they've solved the problem. So the car's gone back out again, and we'll keep an eye on it during the course of the race. So that's the reason why the 99 car came in. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Jamie. Very useful to hear that. One of the unfortunate issues for the 99 car. Another car, as Jamie mentioned, having more engine problems between qualifying and the first race. And if it's going to hamper them quite a lot in this first race, hopefully we can get them out for the second one later on this evening. They'll have plenty of time to work on it if it means they have to call it early, or at least if they can get that car out later to score some championship points nonetheless. So shuffle around at the front, and the man that's on the move is that man in the red car, which is Neil Cliver, because he's now been very quickly shuffling his way up to 2nd place now. He's got past Colin Kingsnor, so the Stobart Sport Fortress has been finally breached, and he's now been released now to try and do something about the 22-second gap that Sam Smith now has for Greensaw Motorsport in car number 263. So already you can see he's putting quite a gap on the rest of the competition. And GT Radial, with Ellis Hadley, will start to make progress, and he is bringing both Gary Bates and also Mark Home with him, but all of these cars behind for third downwards have got to be careful because Farkini, of course, is going to be lapping pretty quickly. But looking at his last lap time, the last lap for Farkini was a 1:21.703. He's at least about 4/10 quicker, as here goes Ellis Hadley down the outside into the corkscrew. I think Colin Kingston thought rather than go side by side, it wasn't going to work out. A little deep on the brakes there for Ellis, because he tried to get it anchored up and turned in for the corkscrew for the downhill right-hander before the bus stop back towards the end of another lap. And he did manage it. And not only that, but he's, again, like Neil Cliver, immediately shown that he's got plenty of pace behind the wheel of that number 97 car. So Colin Kingston down to 4th then. 5th position now. Chasing him down is, as we said, Gary Bates. Car number 14. And let's check on the progress of Hoffa's Lotus. Well, again, they did another 1:27.1.760, and everyone else behind them, in front of them immediately, was doing 1:23. So instantly he's about 1.6 to even 2 seconds quicker than the cars in front. So I think you can certainly anticipate. In fact, there he is on the back of the Team Viking car, the black and gold machine, already in the hunt now for a top 5 place. Farkini is on the prowl. His first target is going to be Team Vikings, and they even have a look down the inside already. A big dive up into the rocket complex for Farkini, and the Uvia Hoppers Lotus car is through. He forces the Mark home car out wide. Thanks very much, Mark. See you later. Closes the door, and he's up into the top 5 already. Fantastic stuff. As now another changeover for Colin Kingsall. He's going to have to capitulate and let Gary Bate through, and if he's not careful, straight onto his rear wing is Farkini. So his Uvia Hoppers Lotus car is in fine form at the moment. They've turned in towards the complex now with about 25 minutes of the race gone at this point. Team Viking car trying to get back at them, but of course there will be periods when certain faster drivers will be in the mix. So they come up towards turn 1 once again to end another lap. Now, despite Neil Plymmer getting into the lead, he's managed to get through now. I was just looking at the Stobart Sport car, and either that was a bit of tyre smoke or something coming up the back of the car. I thought there was some smoke or steam, but well, that was just an illusion. I'm not sure. What isn't an illusion is if Colin Kingsall looks to his right and finds Farkini right alongside him into the right-hander at Church, and another place picked off. There's a car that's run wide in front of them. That's the GT Radial car. GT Radial car number 97. There's Hadley, damage to the front splitter, and as many will know, these front splitters, they are moulded front splitters, but when you damage them, they really can hurt tyre life in many cases. So I think Ellis Hadley has still got a spare piece of bodywork. He will really have to be careful with his tyres now. He will have lost a bit of momentum, and he will now be really struggling. He might well start losing quite a bit of time to both Gary Bate and Farkini in the next few laps, and his third place may not be safe for very much longer, because again, having a damaged splitter really will harm you more than you think, because the aero effect is certainly going to hamper the tyres. It will force more understeer. The tyres will start to overheat more, they'll start to degrade and wear faster. And while these cars don't typically need a tyre change, the worst thing you want to have to do is, if there's a tyre that's badly blistering or has a flat spot on it because you keep locking up because of lack of grip, and then it all causes further problems, and then it means that you might even have to have a quick tyre change, which you're allowed to do. But of course, these GT tyres that they run on these FunCup cars are fairly durable, and they can last quite long periods without having to be changed throughout a race. And pretty much, unless you have to, every team usually goes through an entire race without really having to make a tyre change of any sort. Battle brewing here between Enduro Motorsport 188 and 207 Agua Caliente. So Paul Turner closing in on John Curry, and that is a battle that's going on for 9th position as they come through School Curve. Just in front of them, side by side, we see not only has Team Viking squeezed past Colin Kingsall, but also so has Martin Gibson, the MJ Tech GT car. And now, I do wonder. I'm not sure whether it was just an illusion of the surrounding light or something on the camera, and that there was something came out the left corner of that car as well. So I'm not sure maybe all is well with the Stobart Sport car either. Whether it's leaking some kind, it's either a bit of smoke or steam, or is that a little bit of fluid coming out the back of the car as well? Either way, something doesn't appear right with that Stobart Sport car. As round the holding onto the outside line there was the Enduro Motorsport car. So John Curry just defending there from the 207 machine. Paul Turner trying to get himself back into the mix now. And yeah, you can see there, look, just at the back of the car, look, there's a bit of steam or smoke or something that's out the back of that number 170 car, and I'm not sure that's all healthy. I think he's losing pace at this point in time, and that might well be another pit caller. I thought for a second he was slowing down on the racing line, but it doesn't appear to be affecting his pace too much. But if that's either something to do with coolant or that's a car overheating, that can cause him major problems later on in the race, and it might well be that at the first pit stop they might have to take an extended look. He's carrying on nonetheless. Let's look at the lap time, but his last lap time was a 1:25.1, so I think that car's not at the same pace it should be, I don't think. And again, look, next in the corner, there's a bit more steam out the back. I think that may have been taking a trip to the pits shortly, I'm afraid. And he struggled on the exit of that corner and through straight away, went Enduro Motorsport 188. So John Curry took full advantage of that, and I think we're going to have our third car in trouble here this afternoon at Anglesey. because Colin Kingstorf, oh, that sounds very rough. You can hear it just there. That's a very rough sounding VAG group engine in the back of that FunCup car, and I think that might be, if it's not game over. Oh, that sounds very, very rough indeed. And another car in the pit lane also, whether that's in the pit window too. But I think we are getting towards the start of the pit window, I think. So we'll be able to have a look and see who is coming in pits. Now the 207 car's also coming as well. That's the Caliente machine. Right. Yes, pit window is open. So we're going to hand down to Jamie, who I think has got some info on what's going on down pit lane. 207 being pushed down. It's the 207 car, and Caliente in trouble, and that's another car that's going to have to require service in the garage. See there, Jamie on camera just heading down, so we'll hand to him in a second when he's ready. And there's the 170 car. I think he's just discovered that the Stobart Sport car's in trouble as well. So clamshell is up on that machine.
And they're putting fuel in. That's one turn in. Harry Mailer gets in and gets belted up. Behind them we've got the Team Olympian car that has got Christian Rose getting in. That was what we call a dry fuel stop. That had no fuel in it at all. So Andy Bicknell's just got out of the car now. Andy, that was busy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty busy, yeah. A bit tricky at the end. 207's just gone a whole lap of lane fluid down the whole circuit. So there's that ice on every apex in a minute.
Yeah, but
it says happening now. It says live.
We know this place is really abrasive, but the key is
when I go to tap into
out of trouble, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, that's what we've done, just circulate. But just a lot of water. I think coolant everywhere. Not good. Yeah, all fun.
You love it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Andy. They'll let you get some water. We've also had the Olympian car in as well, but while it all calms down here in the pit lane, I'll hand back to Scott.
Whether having read.
It's all getting pretty frantic out there at the moment, isn't it, with the track activity, pit lane activity at this point, but good to see the first set of pit stops starting to sort of going in earnest as we make our way in the first part of this pit window. There is the defending champions, which are now moved up to 10th place throughout this stint and through all the benefits of them. Now then, that is yellow flags, and it looks like a safety car board's also going to be thrown as well. There was a safety car board in the hand of one of the marshals on the pit wall. So we'll wait and see. Nothing on the timing screen just yet that suggests that. That I just saw it in the mix there. I think the RunYourFleet.com safety car is making its first appearance of the afternoon, because it was just there making its way onto track just as the number 1 car went past. Now, the timing screen hasn't shown that we've got a safety car out, although I did see the Jaguar in the mix. And that's the reason why. The Ellis Hadley number 97 car has ground to a halt. Now, whether that's a consequence of the off he had earlier on, which tore off most of the front splitter, as you can see on the front here, but whether that's caused issues in terms of mechanical problems or overheating, but sadly, it looks like we might have one of our first retirements in the mix. So Ellis had the GT Radials day has gone from bad to a little bit worse, and because of that, it's going to have to require not just a recovery, but also to stack the pack now, thanks to the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car. Just a chance to say thank you to Run Your Fleet, of course, who are the ones to speak to when it comes to all fleet management needs for corporate vehicles and fleet management and all of the information they need. So if you go head to runyourfleet.com, they'll be able to give you a quote and you'll see all of the fantastic things that they can do for what a business's fleet vehicle and management needs. So thank you to them for supplying the safety car and for being a BRSC partner.
Please?
So we're going to quick hand over to Jamie, who's right in the mix of the action here with the pit stops. Jamie, down to you.
You were getting stuck in, weren't you?
Oh, it's tricky. It's such a physical little track.
Yeah, it was busy out there, wasn't it? And there's also a lot of fluid out there as well.
We've had 2 cars. One went off here and hit the sausage curb. I think it's done his radiator. The water is everywhere, and the Stobart car obviously picked up some problem and continued on the lap, dispersing his contents. So the track now is extremely slippy and even more difficult than it was when it was dry.
And
so
And for 30 minutes, you're absolutely shattered, aren't you?
It's so physical.
Yeah.
I'm relatively fit.
Oh, yeah.
But it is, should have been the chips last night.
Yeah. We all sort of went out last night, which is not ideal. But no, I think you'll have to go and have some cookies and some water now.
I think so. I think we're up to P5 or 4, something like that. So really chuffed with that, given the circumstances. Brilliant.
Excellent stuff. Thanks a lot, Gary. That was Gary Bate from Team Greenheath. Yeah. Given how physical the Anglesey circuit is, it's one of the hardest tracks we come to on the cars, especially at the corkscrew, because you don't want to abuse the curves, because that's what can happen to drive shafts and things. Down at Olympian, Chris Doval is just having a chat with the FunCup boss, Paul Rose. He's just explaining what happened at the start. Unfortunately, the Olympian car had a slight little spin. I'll just see if I can just dive in and speak to Chris. Leah, is it all right if I speak to Chris? Or yeah, that was busy, wasn't it?
It was busy. It didn't help by a little altercation before we got to the start-finishing line.
So was it an actual contact, was it?
No contact. I have to take responsibility, I think. I was leaving a bit of a gap, trying to get a bit of speed up to go over the start-finishing line, and then the whole pack just suddenly braked in front of me. I jammed on my brakes, cold tyres, and we know what happened. So, but I managed to, I think, get back up to where I started from. So it was a good stint after that, and thoroughly enjoyable. I love this circuit, love it.
And we heard from Gary Bate, there's a lot of fluid out there as well, and cars have been going off, especially around sort of target turn 1.
Yeah, it's horrible. When it first went down, it was super slippy. They obviously didn't know they were spilling liquids, whether it was oil or water, because it was on the racing line. So I was trying to cross the whole time, get off the racing line, but it's still, we were losing 4 or 5 seconds a lap. We decided to do an early pit stop, get Christian out there, then a safety car came out, which worked quite well for us, so I think it's game on again.
And you've done a dry stop, haven't you, so no fuel?
Dry stop, first one, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Chris. We've also had the 97 GT radial car coming in as well. So, Scott, for the first sort of 35 minutes, it's all kicking off.
You can say that again, Jamie. Plenty of action, and safety car in some ways is a bit of a respite to kind of let us catch our breath and just take stock of where we are, because it's been quite an eventful 35 minutes to kick off this first of 2. Remember, 2 FunCup endurance races today. Second one, of course, being from twilight into the darkness. So definitely want to stick around for that one later on this evening. So now that we've got the safety car out, and pretty much the majority of the field, in fact pretty much everyone has made, apart from pretty much made a pit stop, and we can tell you pretty much who is in which car now, because we do also have running orders for all the drivers. So now at the front of the field now is PLR Racing, after it started a little bit further back. So 146 is in the lead of the race now, and that is currently being driven at the moment by, I can tell you in a second once I get it in front of me to get it properly. 146, forgive me, so 146, which is Ben Pitch. So Ben Pitch has now taken over from Neil Cliver. Greenswall Motorsport have now lost their lead, so after pitting. So that Greenswall Motorsport, who are showing us having pitted twice, which is interesting. But they are now into, so that should be now Ted Smith, who's now lost the wheel of that car. Third, up to third, incredibly from the back of the grid. They're at it again. Yuvia Hoffman's Lotus, Fabio Randaccio has now taken over that car from Farkini, and as I anticipate, it looks as though pretty much everyone has pitted under that safety car to minimise the amount of time lost. Fourth now, in fact, Greenswall Motorsports are okay. They must have lost some positions in the pit window and pitted out of sequence, because they're down in 8th now. So it's Yuvia Hoffman's Lotus up to 2nd now. 3rd is now Team Viking. Team Viking would have pitted and handed over to Nick Nunn. So he's now taken over for the 2nd stint in car 110. 4th place, number 14, Team Greenheath, was Simon Smith at the wheel. It's Team Olympian, the reigning champions, are up to P5 with the green car just centre of shot there in 5th position. That now has Christian Rose at the wheel. Enduro Motorsport are up to 6th in car number 188. And that car has Chris Weatherall at the wheel of it now. In 7th place is number 101 Stan Motorsport. And that now has driving at Warren McKinley. 9th position is now the 221 Dispatch Bay Express car, as the safety car has now picked up the leader of PLR Racing. He's let some of the cars that are kind of a little bit behind in the train run past and try and join the back of the queue. which we have plenty of time to do so. And then it's rounding out the top 10 is the 212 Make Happen racing car, and that car was started by Steve Walton. Greg Evans is now at the wheel of that one as well. The other Greenswell Motorsport car, 125, is currently 11th. That car has now seen, I think we've had Paul Lewis at the wheel, now Ryan Lewis has now jumped in instead. 12th for the Team Caldwell car, 157. And 157, that has now switched over to Brian Caldwell. We had John starting, Brian is now taken over, and for that third stint it will be Cian Jewis who jumps in, the former British F4 champion. Then we have in 13th place MJ Tech GT, we had Martin Gibson driving that, Scott Jeffs is now at the wheel now. 14th place for EDF Motorsport 246, and 246 now started with Vasiliev. Matt Dawkins is now taking over for this second stint of this race. In the top 15, it appears to be We Have No Idea with 107. That started with Alan Baldwin. Paul Calladine is now taking over that car. 19th place now for, well, it was 19th place for Agro Caliente. Sorry, a bit down the order back again so I can find them. So JPR Black Widows, after their issues earlier on, is back out on track. They should now have, I think, Steve Harris has taken over of that car. And then Agro Caliente that's in the pit had its trouble. So we've had 5 cars hit strife now. Agro Caliente is another one that's in the pit lane, the 171 car. When that car comes back out, it should be Matt Hogg at the wheel when he takes over from Rob Perry. So 22 cars started, 5 in trouble sadly already in this early stages, and we're now getting to 18 cars left in this field, but hopefully the cars that are in the pit lane right now will be able to get back out at some point. It's a long race, so you should be able to try and pick up as many points as possible. But just remind you of what the point situation was coming into Anglesey. As we mentioned, it was 2 wins for Uvio Hoffman's Lotus, and as a result of that they came into the weekend with the maximum score of 140 points. They're 3 points ahead of Dispatch Bay Express, who took a pair of second places, and they're on 136. Team Viking have then come next with, I think it looks like a 4th and a 3rd, and now on 130. GCI Racing is 4th with 124 points from MJ Tech GT in 5th with 120. Then it's Make Happen Racing on 118. Agro Caliente in 7th place on 116. Team Greenheath in 8th and 108. And CCS Media, who are not here this weekend, on 104. And Stanley Motorsport on 92. So the rest of the calendar, whilst we're still at the safety car, we've had the rounds so far at Silverstone and Donington. So Silverstone after Donington, and then we've after this weekend we go back to one of the favourite circuits of FunCup for 32 visits to Alton Park on the 14th of August. It's then to Croft on the 4th of September. Then 2 races again at Alton Park, a 1 hour and a 4 hour race, and then Donington Park again on the 6th of November to round things off. So the lights are out on the RunYourFleets.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car, and now it's up to Ben Pitch to decide when he wants to get this race restarted. He'll lead the pack through the corkscrew. He already seems to put his foot down now, but he's got to be very careful that a very feisty Fabio Randaccio in the Uvio Hoppers Lotus car, who's squirming around behind him, will try to get through. Green flag in the air, and we're back racing again at Anglesey for the first of 2 races today in the FunCup Championship, and already Fabio Randaccio is on the prowl. He's on the back of Ben Pitch as they turn through turn 1 up towards the hairpin once again, and now they make their way through the right-hander and up towards the back straight of the circuit, and I'm sure that Fabio Randaccio will be right underneath the rear wing of Ben Pitch to try and get through. 6th place now, as we said, for the MJ Tech GT car. In fact, that might just be it in the sequence. So they come up now through the right-hander at Church. Team Vikings back in 3rd, but there's 2 cars in the way. One of them is the MJ Tech GT car, which is in 13th place. We're looking for the lead now down the outside, or the inside for the first to the approach to the rocket, but the outside on the entrance is going to be Fabio Randaccio. If he can try and get the undercut exiting through the rocket complex, he might well take advantage and take the lead here. And remember, this is from the back of the grid, and he'll have done this in about 45 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Just trying to squeeze his way through. He's on the rear wing as they come up through Peel Corner, through the right hand into the right-hander, and still no way through for Ben Pitch, who's trying to get this car back up to temperature after it's been behind the safety car for a few laps. They turn in through the corkscrew, and the MJ Tech GT car with Scott Jeffs on the wheel is not letting these 2 get away. He might be back in 13th place and showing there's a lap down, but trying to at least press on and start to give Fabio Randaccio a bit of a worry here, and thinking, well, I'm more focused on the car in front rather than the car behind, so why are you giving me grief behind me? But he's doing everything he can to keep with the leader. And then very impressive first stint by Farkini to get from the back of the grid to as far as he has and then moving up further during the pit stop sequence really has helped them out. Now Team Viking has cleared the lapped car that was in front of them, so they now only have just this car between them and the battle for the lead, so it could now be a 3-car fight for the first position if Nick Nunn can start to put his foot down and close into these cars in front. Now just behind them, Team Greenheath is in 4th position, and they've got only advantage of about 0.4 of a second, so we could have some great scraps going on here between them. But there it is, up the inside. That was a move for 4th position. Up to the inside looks Christian Rose, slips by inside of number 14, and that is now Simon Smith down to the bottom of the top 5. So some movers and shakers here, because not only is Team Olympian on the move, but so is the Viking car in the mix now. We could get a real compression here of the top 5 very shortly. And it could be a change for 5th as well, because Enduro Motorsport were in the mix as well, 188. So that will be Chris Weatherall who will start to make a move in the move here as the top 3 on the road circulate together. Still Ben Pitch holding off Fabio Randaccio, still with Scott Jeffs in close attention. Now then, the 4 cars immediately behind are all for position. So that's now 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all together as they turn up through turn 1 and into the hairpin again. 3rd to 6th is covered by, let's have a look, that's about roughly 2.7 seconds between them. So this is the great thing about FunCup racing. It might be a long race, but there is very rarely a dull moment in these races. It is action-packed from start to finish. They do treat it like the modern-day World Endurance Championship races. It's not like the endurance races of old, where you'd have teammates where one would go off in front and set the pace, and the other one would sit back and try and pace the others behind them. It's all sprint. It's essentially a 3-hour sprint race in many cases, as a change from the lead. Up the inside and into the lead has gone Fabio Randaccio for Team Ubio Hoffman's Lotus. So from the back of the grid to the front in nearly 50 minutes, which is very, very impressive stuff from these guys. But then again, this team is former champions one way or another, so it's kind of to be expected in some ways. It's Ben Pitch now. Let's see what he can do to latch onto the tail of him. Otherwise, we might be looking at a hat-trick of wins on the bounce here for the Ubio Hoffman's team. So they circulate on a little wide Fabio Randaccio. He just knows that he's got the incentive of being in front now. He's just letting the pressure get a little bit to him here. Now, also in that mix too, I've noticed in the background was Dispatch Bay Express. They've managed to make their way through. Team Greenheath has lost another place on that last lap as well, because Enduro Motorsport has managed to squeeze past into 5th place. Team Greenheath down to 6th, but the fastest car out of all of them, behind all the top 6, is in fact Dispatch Bay Express. There it is, the black and orange car. Now that car has Harry Mailer at the wheel, if I'm correct. Yes, it does, because Andy Bicknell took the start. And Harry Mailer, who set the fastest time in the night practice last night, is on a charge here. He set the fastest time out of anyone in the first few cars in front of him. He's in a 1:20.945, the quickest time in the cars in front of him, all the cars in front of him. It is the leader, Fabio Randaccio, with a 1:21.143, so he's lapping faster than any of the top 6 cars in front of him. In fact, now top 5, because he's just squeezed past Team Greenheath to push Simon Smith down another position. So plenty of position swapping going on here. It's guaranteed none of these drivers are playing the long game here. They're all going for track position as much as possible. And we'll check that tops again as Harry Mailer just almost throws the car into the corkscrew section. And is on the rear wing of the 188 car as they turn out of the bus stop and down the short front pit straight once again to complete another lap. We've completed 34 laps so far as we head towards the end of this first hour of 3 in the FunCup Endurance Championship, round 3 of the 2021 season. And of course, if you're here for the racing, it's not just the endurance racing we've got here. We've got plenty of sprint racing throughout the weekend. We've got action from the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship and the Super Cup as well. We've got the Motorsport UK British Supercar Championship and the combined grid for the Avon Tyres National and Northern and Super Classic Formula 4 Championships. There's still a race for them each to come today, but now what's about to happen is Dispatch Bay Express with Harry Mailer to the outside of Chris Weatherall, and on the inside for Skull, on the racing line for Rocket. That's another place gain for Harry, so he's now up into 5th position, into the top 5. His next target is the defending champions with Chris Rose at the wheel, Team Olympian in 4th position. So everyone in the top 6 now has settled into a very, very similar pace, even though the Dispatch Bay car is still the quickest out of the top 6. everyone's lapping in the 121s, and his first big challenge, I think, out of this top 5 is probably going to be Team Olympian, because last lap for Christian Rose was only a tenth slower than Harry Mailer. So I wonder if maybe we're going to get a bit of a position fight on our hands here, but just showing that regardless of where they finish, the cream really does rise to the top when it comes to FunCup. The quickest teams, regardless of where they're drawn to start, do tend to find themselves rising pretty quickly through the order. Here's car 212, that's Make Happen Racing. That car is currently running in 8th position. 212 had Greg Evans start that car, and Steve, in fact, I believe they did. No, Steve Walton started that car, forgive me, so Greg Evans has now taken over. So there they are then. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, all in a shot together. And I don't think Christian Rose is worried about Dispatchman behind. More concerned about Team Viking in front, because he's going to try and make his way through up the inside. That's another position gain for Team Olympian. And look at the way that Harry Mailer just arrives onto the tail of these two. The Enduro Motorsport car is still keeping in touching distance. We've got a real position fight on our hands here between these top teams. And I have to say, Fernando Randaccio, even though he's taken the lead from Ben Pitch a few laps ago, he hasn't run away from Ben Pitch at this point. He's still only 3/4 of a second ahead, so Ben Pitch is starting to match in terms of pace. He's not that far away from it. There's about a 10th of a second difference at the front of the field, as here comes Harry Mailer diving up the inside into the last corner, and that was a very daring move. I saw him lining up and thinking, surely not, he's not going to try and make a dive up into the bus stop there at left-handed, but he did have a go at it and really realised his error at the last minute and thought, oh, better not, and just backed off on the brake. So very daring stuff from Harry Mailer. You can tell he's absolutely pushing, and again, we've still got 2 hours and 5 minutes to go in this race, and the racing as if it's a 15-minute sprint is fantastic to watch. You said that endurance races were just drivers pacing themselves and waiting until the end. Not in the FunCup. Everyone goes flat out every single lap of every single stint, and it is glorious to watch. Now then, Harry Mailer, you can see Christian Rose getting away. He knows he has to make this pass to try and keep up with the reigning champions, and he makes it before he even gets to the end of the school straight, up towards the complex at Rocket. And again, looking at the last times, again, Dispatchman once again, 120.983. He was at least about half a second quicker. So impressive stuff here from Harry Mailer. And he's been racing for quite a while in the team he used to race in the Team Trooper outfit, alongside several drivers, including, nonetheless, Anthony Reid, of course, former BTCC and Le Mans all-round racing legend. And certainly learnt a lot from Anthony, and plenty of drivers he's also competed in. He's quite a young chap, is Harry, and he's certainly making a career of himself in FunCup at the moment. Pretty certain you could probably put him into any endurance team in any other series that you might wish to maybe have a go at in the future. I'm sure he'd be quite a weapon behind the wheel, whatever you give him. Now then, looked to me as if Christian Rose, or at least it looked to Harry Mailer as Christian Rose, was almost leaving the door open there at the hairpin, but again, just realised rather than try and make a big dive and send it into the hairpin, it wasn't quite going to happen that way. As we now head back onto the back straight, the toe will be quite strong here, but in front of them I noticed there's a possible change from a lead, so first and third are about possibly to change hands. Here comes round the outside Harry Mailer. We'll have the inside line for Rocket Corners. They head under brakes into the left-hander at the top of the hill, and with the sheer pace advantage in the draft, it is now up to 3rd place for Harry Mailer, past Christian Rose. I'm sure that the response, even though Christian is running at a very strong pace, the true response might not come until we see a certain Ryan Phillips at the wheel of that car, because he will want to try and claim that position back and make some moves up through the order. So there is Ben Pitch in car number 146. Still the Team PLR machine is holding on in 2nd place. But let's see how quickly Harry Mailer can arrive onto the tail, and whether or not he can bring the cars behind him with him, because he's got Team Olympian still in close attention. Same with Team Viking and Enduro Motorsport. And when we get to the 2 hour mark, we'll give you a rundown of where we are. The fastest lap of the race, we should mention, is with currently 263, which is Greenswell Motorsport, which was Sam Smith at the wheel. Was he's now headed over to Ted Smith, also with Simon Smith also in the mix, and we still haven't seen yet Nigel Greenswell on track, and he's as ever formidable car as possible. So on the back straight, there it is, first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, all in a shot. Now Enduro Motorsport was lining up a move on Team Viking in the background for fifth place, so we might want to hang back for a second and see if that happens. So there's our leaders heading into Rocket. There you can see already the black and orange car is Harry Mailer. And I think there was a change for, yes there was, fifth position. So Enduro Motorsport, Chris Weatherall's got past Nick Nunn. So a change there into the top 5 once again for the number 188 machine. And the MJ Tech GT car, well it might be a lap behind in 12th place at the moment. Scott Jeffs is actually, at the moment, being a bit of a hindrance to Harry Mailer's charge here. He needs to dispatch him pretty quickly. Will he do it here at the left bus stop? He's not far enough alongside to make that happen, so he's going to have to keep pushing in order to make that work. So, Randaccio, pitch. And Scott Jeffs and the MJ Tech GT car, which is running on the same pace as the leaders, but out of position in 12th place. Then the true third place car is right behind him. And looks like Mailer's going to have to do it the hard way here. Looking up the inside, I think must surely Scott Jeffs realise he's a lap down. Yes, he does. And through he goes. Now then, the top 3 are pretty much there on the same. There's the top 4, because looks like as well Christian Rose has woken up a little bit. He's now in 4th position. He'll get a tow from the MJ Tech GT car. If he could, if it plays out this way, have a 4-way top scrap for the lead here at Anglesey in this first race. And straight onto the rear wing of Ben Pitch goes Harry Mailer. I think battle lines are drawn here. We've got a fight on our hands between these 3. This should be brilliant. So out of Rocket towards Peel. Now Harry Mailer starts to line up Ben Pitch again. Of course, Ben's going to be in the catch-22 here. He's going to keep one eye on Fabio Randaccio in front, and then the other eye on Harry Mailer behind him. This is going to be a very, very tricky sequence here as they come up through the corkscrew. They turn in through the bus stop once again to complete lap 40. 40 laps completed of the coastal circuit at Anglesey. All the other races we'll have in the other championships will be running on the international circuit this weekend. So from the first race we have after this one, the Motorsport UK British Supercar Championship, and also the Mazdas and the National Formula Fords and the Modified Fords that we have joining us tomorrow. All of them will be on the longer international circuit. We'll head off onto the Tom Price Straight, and then we have the hairpin at the top of the circuit, and then back down the longer back straight towards the bus stop. Leaders out of Church. And the momentum that Harry Mailer's gained off of the right-hander at Church means he's going to have a real chance to attack here for second place. He squeezes Ben Pitch to the edge of the circuit. But again, the momentum he carries down the back straight is enough to carry him past before he's even got through. And look at Scott Jeffs in the MJ Tech GT car thinking, well, if you open the door on that one, Ben, I might as well come back and have my lap back, thank you very much. But now then, I wonder if Harry Mailer is going to try and do what Ben Pitch hasn't been able to up to this point, which is try and attack Fabio Randaccio and grab that lead back, or grab it for the first time with the Dispatch Bay Express. And just remind you where they started. The Dispatch Bay Express car started all the way back in, if I can find it on the grid, it started in. Dispatch Bay Express has climbed up all the way from 19th on the grid, so both the UVA Hoffman's Lotus car, 19th and 22nd, is in the mix. So whilst this battle's going on, that we can possibly head to Jamie in the pits, who can give us an update on the latest going on with some of the cars that hit trouble earlier on.
So down here in the GT radial pit, one of the drivers who lost out in the first stint due to the fluid was Ellis Hadley in the GT radial car. Not the best of first stints for you, because you got caught up in other liquid out there.
Yeah, but that's how it goes, unfortunately. I didn't even see it as soon as I come around the corner, and so the front end just went and off we went, and yeah, the rest is history.
So you changed the rad and it did a little bit of wishbone damage as well. Steve Pete, who's with you, thought this was meant to be a one-off. So far he's done 3.
No, it's called a 3-off.
3-off, yeah.
3-off, yeah.
This race is going to be doing the whole season, isn't he?
Well, you never know. We have got a few more people sort of penciled in, so I'm sure he'll be a very good reserve.
Absolutely, but it's nice for you to have the celebrity drivers, because again you're meeting some fantastic people and they're getting to grips with the car pretty quickly, aren't they?
Yeah, you can tell the professionalism of the guys, that you know are at the top of their game, and it really sort of reflects when they're in the car. They listen, they learn, and they get onto it really quickly.
Excellent stuff. Well, we'll catch up a bit later. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Jamie. Well, whilst you've been talking to in the pit lane there, we have actually had a change of lead, because up into the lead now has gone, you'll see in a second, there it is. So Harry Mailer has managed to make a move and get past Fabio Randaccio, so he from 19th on the grid has managed to squeak himself up into the front of the field. So, now down the back straight, and it is now a chance for Harry Mailer to see if he can start to pull away here. As they come up onto the end of the first hour of this third race of the 2021 FunCup Endurance Championship season. And drama and excitement all the way from the start of it. But as we've now got past the first hour, let's give you the rundown of where we are then from the start of it. So as you can see, Dispatch Bay Express do lead the way then from UVR Hoppers Lotus. The gap currently is 0.3 of a second between them, as we've just seen a change of lead between the front two. Then it's third place for PLR Racing, as we see the 99 JPR Black Widows car in the pit lane. So I think this will be the second round of pit stops in a second. Third place for PLR Racing 146. Team Olympian are currently fourth at the moment from Enduro Motorsport 188. It's Team Viking in sixth, Stantu Motorsport seventh, then Team Greenheath, Make Happen Racing, and the first of the Greensaw Motorsport cars in 10th position.
And juniors, this seems like a double.
So, going through the rest of the top 10, Greensaw Motorsport in 10th position in 263. It's the second of the Greensaw Motorsport car at 11th place in 125 from MJ Tech GT, number 61 in 12th. The Cordwells having a little bit more of a conservative race in 13th place at the moment. They've still got Kean Jewis to go to try and boost their fortunes a bit more. The We Have No Idea team, and again I stress that is their real team name, 107 the mix. Now in the pit lane is team number 1. That's the Team Olympian squad. Now they've been practicing pit stops last night, so they should be quite well versed, trying to get the car refired. That should be Riley Phillips at the wheel, but the car's not really firing up properly. I think it is now, so it took quite a bit of a push to get it going. But away it goes. Also, it looks like that was car 14, Team Greenheath, I think. So I think back into the race has gone Gary Bate, taking back over from Simon Smith. So the second round of pit stops is underway in earnest. And again, that'll be another cycle of drivers. Even if there's a two-driver combo, the driver that started the race will get back in. If there's a three-driver or more combo, the next driver that's scheduled to go in the cycle will go through. But now we wait for those cars to make a pit stop, and unless there is anything else that comes up with Mike from the safety car, I imagine this will all be green flag pit stops. So we'll have to wait and see how this one all plays out. But again, looks like Harry Mailer is starting to check out here. 2.3 seconds to the good in the lead. Vivian Hoffman's Lotus second, and keeping close tension now is Ben Pitch. He's just, before the Dispatch Bay car started to make through, he wasn't able to really get right back onto the tail and make a move. He had the momentum to get close, but just not close enough to actually make a pass, which was the key thing. And as soon as Harry Mailer squeezed through, he was able to quickly show him how it's done. And there's the 207 car. That is one of the Agrocaliente machines. That's got some bodywork damage. One of the front splitter is damaged, and also we've got a bit of bodywork flapping around on the left front wing. So, well, that's had it off somewhere, or a collision with somebody. But that car is still circulating in 20th place. And I think when it comes into the pit lane to make what I anticipate will be its second stop, unless it has already, that car is probably going to hit some stuff. It hasn't only pitted once just yet, so if there is any extra damage, they might well have to take a bit of that off to satisfy the stewards, because if a piece of bodywork flapping around too much, it could be deemed as dangerous, and you might get the black and orange flag for the requirement to come in and fix whatever mechanical issues causing, which could be a potential issue to other drivers out on the circuit. So back in the pit lane, and that's the 246 car that's come in the pits. That's the EDF Motorsport car, which is Matt Dawkins of Vlad Vasiliev. That car had Matt Dawkins at the wheel, so I think possibly that doesn't look routine to me. That's looking at something on the rear quarter, as in looking into the engine without actually lifting the clamshell up. So I wonder if that's a possible problem for that car. And that car is quite far. It had been 16th place, so it's been dropping down the order. It will be dropping down the order shortly. It's quite a couple of laps behind, in fact. It's currently 4 laps off the leader. So now as they come up through the second and third place now, making their way back towards the Rocket Complex once again. As we heard Jamie there enthusiastically telling someone to put their mask back on the pit lane, as we should, because the current restrictions, everyone has to keep their masks on. Good to see a few people in the YouTube chat watching along. So for those who've had talking, we've had of course Caleb Weatherall, I'm sure we're watching on. I remember Chris at the wheel of his 188 Enduro Motorsport car that currently sits at the moment in the top 5, in 4th position at the moment. We've also got to say hello to Jan Eckerman. Alex Zafra is also watching as well. Pure Motorsport, Simzo, also got Ed and Chris Bryan as well, who are veterans of FunCup, and Joe Watt too. Thanks for everyone that's been watching. We can now head down to Jamie in the pit lane, who's got more knowledge of what's going on with one of our drivers in the pit lane. One of the cars had some issues.
So down at EDF Motorsport with Team Vape Club Racing, Matt Dawkins has just got out of the 246 car with a little bit of damage. Matt, what's been going on?
Oh, Vlad had too much fun. Yeah, we had a bit of a collision right at the beginning of the race, so we got some bodywork damage, but the accelerator didn't seem to be working when I was racing. It wasn't just me this time, it really was.
And we've got to remember, this is your 3rd ever car race. You two have had to learn really quickly, haven't you? And also, tonight you're going to be racing in the dark for the first time ever. How are you feeling?
Nervously excited. We're finding out very quickly that motorsport can be cruel, but we're having a blast. I mean, you can be slow here and still look at the mountains and see the good race around you, so it's a good place to be slow.
And you got a great bunch of guys with you, haven't you?
Great bunch of lads. Great bunch of lads.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Back to you, Scott.
Managed to disappear up the road for a few seconds because Ben Pitcher decided now to wake up and decided before this stint is over to try and make his way past Fabio Randaccio at last and to make a move for 2nd place. So these two now nose to tail. They've got past another lapped car, in fact. Actually, that is the 157 machine they've got past, which is Team Caldwell. So that car, I think, has already had has it made its 2nd pit stop? Let's have a quick look on there. Yes, it has. So I think that now is Kean Jewis at the wheel of 157. That has just stopped. And so that car now, I don't think will be as conservative as it was in the first stint. Now it's got Kean Jewis at the wheel, who will certainly be used to the central driving position. There's Enduro Motorsport 188. That's John Curry taking back over from Chris Weatherall. And the rule is you can't touch the car in terms of changing drivers whilst the fuel's going in. Back out has gone 104, EDF Motorsport. So that's its 2nd pit stop. That's now Simon Cole's getting back in after Charles Graham took over for that 2nd stint. And Enduro Motorsport looking to get John Curry back out as quickly as possible. A couple of tweaks on the seat belts, and away it goes again. Of course, they'll be in action tomorrow. Oh, now then, Kean Jewis doesn't realise that he's a lap behind because he's actually battling with Ben Pitch here and really getting stuck in. I'm not sure Ben Pitch will appreciate a lap car getting in the way of his battle for 2nd place overall, and Kean Jewis is getting all screwed under brakes, but I think he's just having fun out there really, because yes, he is back in 14th place. He's going to try and hold on. Now then, Ben Pitch has realised rather than try and fight it, let's jump into the pit lane and see if we can maybe get an undercut here on the Uvia Hoppens Lotus machine. And he will see if he can try and possibly make the switch to the pit lane if he can have a quicker pit stop. So out once again jumps Ben Pitch. In again goes Neil Cliver.
Yeah, and you can't be in the pit lane without a home.
So conversation going on there. I think also that was Farkini having a chat as well. There's the 125 car, which is Greensaw Motorsport. So that should have, I believe, Ryan Lewis at the wheel. As Paul took the first stint, Ryan is now in the car now, and he should then hand over back to Paul at the end of this 2nd stint. They are currently sat at the moment. No, I think they've made their 2nd stop, forgive me, so it is Paul back in the car. And they're currently sat in 11th place, just on the fringe of the top 10. They've got to try and make a bit more time now on Team Greenheath back in 9th place. We've still got a few of the top drivers still to go. We've still got the Dispatch Bay Express car. The top 2 haven't pitted just yet, either Dispatch Bay Express or Uvia Hoppers Lotus. We're still also waiting for Make Happen Racing, who have climbed up to 6th in this so far in this pit stop sequence. And also waiting for the Agua Caliente car, which has gone back out again after it had some earlier damage dramas. Try and get through. That's the We Have No Idea car, the car number 107. Just getting out of the way of JPR Black Widows, which is also on the recovery trail. And they're both in amongst the car that's now in 8th position, which is now, I believe, Riley Phillips at the wheel of car number 1, the defending champion. So he's now going to try and make up as much he's allowed to try and make up as much time as he can in this pit stop sequence in order to try and gain a couple more positions. Of course, he knows he has to because, of course, he will be trying to make up as much time as possible to get the advantage over those who are ahead of him in the points, and he'll want to try and do that as quickly as he can. There is Neil Plymmer. He's back at the wheel now. To find out more in this current cycle of the pit stop, let's go back down to Jamie in the pit lane. You can give us more.
So down with the Black Widows, Dom Jackson did the first stint of the 99 car. It's been a bit of a hectic morning, so you've had to have an engine change, and then you were getting a bit ganged up out there on the first few laps, weren't you?
I think I was getting stuck in is probably the way to describe it. Yeah, I mean, it's the usual mayhem on a opening few laps of FunCup, but I was loving it. It was good. The car felt good. Yeah, we had the new engine in, but it felt good. And yeah, for probably 2/3 of the stint, I was able to to dice well. I got up to 3rd place. I was catching 2nd, and then unfortunately the oil temperature, water temperature warning lights went on and stayed on. So I radioed in and said, look, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, stay out. But I ended up driving about 90%, so I thought, I don't want to cook the engine. We're not sure. When I came in, Scott's just put the computer on just to check, see what's actually happening. But yeah, a bit disappointing because we're going well.
And we said to Neil Plymmer, I mean, you two are probably maybe our longest serving residents. I mean, it's changed a lot. It's got harder and harder every year, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. The standard has gone. I mean, I started in 2008, and yeah, back in 2008, I mean, we had sort of same 130 brake horsepower, but it was H pattern synchro mesh gears. The standard it was competitive, but not at this level. And there were probably, out of the sort of 25 to 30 teams you had, there's probably about 5 or 6 that you thought would win. But now anyone in the top 10, 15 can be up there. So yeah, and it's good. I mean, I like racing against other people as well. I've enjoyed my racing, and I think it's good to have healthy competition.
Well, it's good to have you back, and we'll catch up later.
Cheers.
Back to you, Scott.
Great stuff, as we see now on track. 2nd, 3rd, but no, it's technically 1st, 2nd and 3rd together now, because I think the PLR racing car has been making its pit stops, and I think also, yes, everyone's gone through their cycle of pit stops now, so it's quite an important sequence to go through. Now, what I've noticed is now that we can see on the track here, Farkini's now back at the wheel of the Uwe Hoffman's Lotus car, but I think up to 3rd place now is Team Olympian, because I think the PLR racing car would have been in the pit lane, I think, at the time when they were all crossing the line to end that lap. But I think now Team Olympians is up into 3rd place with, of course, Riley Phillips at the wheel, and he will be quite fired up to try and get one over. And that's off the road. It's Enduro Motorsport, the pole-sitting car from what was 7th place on the road, and that car also experiencing overheating problems. Smoke billowing from the back of the car, and unfortunately, that is the race over, it seems, for John Curry and Chris Weatherall. Just an hour and 15 minutes into this first race of the weekend, and I'm afraid that might well prompt a 2nd safety car to recover that properly, because that car is billowing steam out of the back, and fortunately that's not, the marshals are standing by with the fire extinguisher just in case, but I think that possibly might be a case of it's simply just overheating. Oh, what a shame. Enduro Motorsport. Of course, they are doing double duty this weekend. They're also out at Mornington Park for the latest rounds of the British GT Championship. This is probably not the way they want to start their weekend as a whole. In terms of racing. Just John Curry just trying to lift up the clamshell to try and at least just get some air, as the safety car has been deployed once again. So for the 2nd time this afternoon in this FunCup endurance race, sadly the safety car has been deployed due to the unfortunate demise of the Enduro Motorsport 188 car. And John Curry lifts up the back of the car and wonders what on earth has gone wrong. And that's a shame. As we say, that car got the luck of the draw, quite literally, because it was drawn on pole position and has been up around in the top, high in the top 10 for quite a margin in this race, but sadly it's all come crashing to a halt. And that's going to take some clearing up or some major work by Enduro Motorsport in order to get it ready for tonight's 3-hour twilight into the night race later on today. And John Gary looking on, sure, with a look of fair disappointment after that, and to such a strong stint. It's a real shame to see that car fall by the wayside. Well, it does bring the pack back together again, and we can give you a bit of now we've had that second pit stop sequence finished, we can give you a bit of a show rundown where we are in terms of the reshuffle. So PLR Racing, in fact, actually through that whole pit stop sequence, the undercut has actually worked in their favour, because they now actually lead the race on the road by 3.4 seconds. Well, it was 3.4 seconds, but it's now changed again. So PLR Racing back to the lead of the race, now with, once again, Neil Plymouth at the wheel. Second place now is Dispatch Bay Express. We've seen Harry Mailer hand back to Andy Bicklon, so Andy now back at the wheel of the 221 car. Team Olympian through all that pit stop sequence has gone up to third, with Riley Phillips taken over from his teammates, from Christian Rose. Farkini's back at the wheel of the 225 car, which started right at the back of the grid in 22nd by means of winning the previous race at Silverstone as per the regulations. Fifth is now Team Viking 110. Team Viking 110 in 5th position. 6th place now for Team Greenheath, who are 2 cars behind Team Viking. They're the white, grey and yellow machine, car number 14. 7th place for 212 Make Happen Racing. 8th place for the Stan Motorsport squad. The 212 car should have 212, I think, has Stephen Walton back at the wheel of it now. Team Greenheath will have Gary Bates back in command. For 101, that is, I think now has, if I'm correct, Duncan Rogers at the wheel of that car, because he's taken over from Ron McKinley. Martin Compton started that car originally. And then rounding up the top 10, it's the 2 Greenswell Motorsport cars, 125, which now has, I think, Paul Lewis back at the wheel of it. And then in the top 10, 263, which I think now in this third stint, I believe, should have Simon Smith, but I will check. Yes, it will. Yes, Simon Smith is at the wheel of that one. The next stint is being taken over by Nigel Greensall, so Nigel will jump in for the next stint on this one, and then it'll be between Sam Smith and Nigel Greensall towards the end, who are arguably, all due respect to Simon and Ted when I say this, the 2 fastest drivers in that lineup of cars in the mix, because Sam's pace at the beginning, and I'm sure Nigel Greensall's overall pace in these cars certainly going to be something they're going to want by the time we get towards the closing stages of this 3-hour race. We're actually already coming up towards the halfway mark already, which is quite astonishing. And I told you that FunCup races, there's never really a dull moment in them, because there's always something to break it up, like a safety car to bring things together, or there's a great battle and the teams will come, or the lead gaps start to close up pretty quickly. They certainly have closed up now in this top 5. You can see all of them together now in a line on the same lap. So this is going to be PLR Racing on the restart versus Dispatch Bay Express versus Team Olympian versus Uvia Hoffman's Lotus versus Team Viking. And I have to say, they are definitely 5 of the strongest teams out there. And I think the prospect of them all battling on track together in the middle of this endurance race is quite mouth-watering indeed. Must say a big thank you to everyone who's making this weekend happen. Of course, first of all, Anglesey Circuit. Of course, it's great to be back racing in Wales. It's been quite a while since we had that. Of course, due to the effects of the pandemic that we had, it meant that motorsport in Wales sadly practically came to a halt, unfortunately. But there was a bit of a test event here last year to kind of see the feasibility of getting motorsport events back underway. But for their own reasons, unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen. But motorsport events have been getting back underway at Anglesey. It was a round of the Circuit Rally Championship, which took place last weekend. It's a double header, in fact, which took place. And that has now led us into our first circuit race back at Anglesey since 2019. Since November 2019, when the BRSSC held what was then its annual winter race day with Anglesey. It's great to be back at the circuit. It's a wonderful location right on the Isle of Anglesey. And you can, as you've probably been seeing in the background, the scenery around the circuit is wonderful. You get this beautiful view of the Irish Sea, the rolling Welsh countryside, and all the hills and the grassland around. It's a fantastic place to be to race, and what a wonderful location for a racetrack it is. The word picturesque gets used a lot, but it really is a picturesque place to be. And see some of the aerial shots of a location by the coast, and it's absolutely fantastic. You think it was somewhere on an obscure island somewhere in a far-off land, but it's a fantastic place to go to watch racing. It's also a very challenging circuit in its own right. It's also quite a young circuit, in fact, in many cases. It wasn't that long ago that it was launched and built and put together. There's been some modifications for the circuit over the years. The big one was a revamp. It was opened as a fully licensed circuit back in 1997. So, by motorsport standards, quite a young circuit in many cases. The youngest circuit, I think. After that, it was probably the youngest circuit in the country until Rockingham came along in 2001, which sadly is no longer with us. But then there were some modifications that took place, I think it was around about 2006, 2007, to the current layout that we have at the moment. So, yeah, I was just looking at some of the information here. 2006 was when the modifications for the current layout were made, and there are still some segments of the old circuit which are used as some service roads around in the mix. So it's quite fascinating to see that. But that's quite a sight you want, isn't it? Just looking out to see the Irish Sea in the mix, and it's a wonderful view, wonderful place to be, to race beside the seaside. It's a fantastic place to be. Our coverage is taking a slight turn of nature for a second here as we look at some of the scenery. But we hopefully, once the recovery of the Enduro Motorsport car is complete, we'll be able to get back racing again once more under the safety car, the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car. This has been very kindly provided by BRSCC's new partners for this year, RunYourFleet.com, and it's very grateful for them to come on board, of course, as they have been very, very supportive since the start. They really are the best way to buy, lease, rent and manage everything you need for your company vehicles. A really structured multi-fleet vehicle management service, and they take all the hassle out of all the tricky bits of putting together a fleet of vehicles for your company. So do be sure to go and check them out, runyourfleet.com. They're on social media as well, and do be sure to give them some love. And if you do happen to use them, just tell them BRSCC sent you, because of course they are the club's partners, and we're very, very grateful that they've been on board with us this year. And not only that, but allows the use of this wonderful Jaguar safety car on top of it as well. Now then, the recovery, as you've just seen, has pretty much finished in terms of getting out of harm's way of the Enduro Motorsport car. Sadly, that car's chalked up a retirement, I'm afraid, so that will not be scoring any points this afternoon. Hopefully they can get it fixed for this evening's race. That will be quite a task, and all credit to them. Now, what Team Greenheath will want to try and do is dispatch of the two cars in front of it that are lapped down as quickly as possible, so that it can stay with the lead group, because that's going to be a key thing here, particularly on the restart when we get going again very shortly. As we see there, the track focus car, which we saw coming earlier on, that was one of the cars that Jamie mentioned when they were looking at it in pit lane, that had an engine change between qualifying and this race. It's good to see it back out there. It is quite far down the order. If we look on the timing screen, it is still circulating, but it's now down to, at the moment, last on the timing screen and 47 laps behind the leader. So not to make light at all. They've got quite a lot of work here, and I can't quite see them rising up above that unless they start to displace some of the cars that have also had problems, that they're dropping down the order. Lights are off on the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car, and we're all set to get back underway for this second restart under green flag conditions on round 3 of the 2021 FunCup Endurance Championship here on the coast by the Irish Sea in North Wales at the Anglesey Coastal Circuit. International layout is going to be used later on for some of our sprint races coming up later this afternoon. But as they head out of the coastal circuit and onto the pit straight to get back racing once again, it's going to be EDF Motorsport that will get themselves back underway once more as PLR Racing leads the way, and already we can see Neil Plymouth, the captain, just holding off Andy Bicknell, and here comes Riley Phillips, who's not hanging around at all. A much better exit out of the hairpin up and towards Church Corner, and into second place goes the reigning champions. And now, with a slightly clearer view in front of them, there's only one car left to try and get back to the lead, and it's going to be Neil Plymouth. But what kind of a spot does Andy Bicknell have, and also how quick is Farkini going to be here, because he's now sailing up onto the back of the dispatch bay car. And also watch out for Mark Home and the Team Viking car. There they are, your top 5, line astern, first to fifth, all together on this restart. And also crucially, look behind the white and grey car. Number 14, Team Greenheath, has dispatched the two lapped cars very quickly, and he's going to try and catch up to the tail of this quintet as they come up through Peel Corner, where Riley Phillips is already putting Neil Plymouth under massive pressure on the run through into the corkscrew. Through the left, through the right, they're plunged downhill. It's one of these sections where I see the front wheel lifting up off the ground rather than the rear wheels. When you see the cars that have simply sprung, they're sort of sort of cock a wheel into the long corners and it lifts it off the ground, being so stiffly sprung. But first lap back under racing speeds is in the books. The sun starts to shine a bit more here. What's a fairly overcast day so far. Has been a bit sunnier earlier on, but certainly brightening up a bit more here as we see one or two slight slow-mo shots here of the cars going down the pit straight. But this is something interesting. Farkini then under threat from Mark Home, it seems, as they come down. But this could be a more crucial pass coming up here, because out of Church Corner, the momentum and the slipstream is going to be with Riley Phillips here, and Neil Plymouth knows it. And he has to get all his elbows out, use all the experience, try and hold on. He just shuts the door immediately because he knew that Riley Phillips was going to try and get to the outside line to go around the outside into the Rocket complex. But Riley Phillips looks for the undercut on the exit, goes for the switchback on the first part of Rocket. Will try and get to the inside on the exit of the second part if Neil Plymouth opens the door. And he'll try and pull alongside of a drag race towards Peel Corner. If he can get his nose in front, which he's trying to do, Plymouth has no choice. He has to let him through. Look for the undercut on the exit if he can. But Riley Phillips, the reigning champion in the Team Olympian car, number one, the reigning champion, is back into the lead already because Neil Plymouth goes back up the inside. But again, not close enough. He looks again as he comes into the complex through the coastal end of the coastal layout through the corkscrew. But Riley Phillips then is another new leader at hit the front of the field. We've had the Sam Smith car hit the field. Then we've also had the Ben Pitch car lead. They've also had then the Uvia Hoppers Lotus car in front. Then we've had Dispatch Bay, and now Team Olympian are in front. At least 5 different leaders we've had in this race so far, and we're only just hitting halfway. Superb stuff, and as you can see as well, the sun's starting to come out, so it's starting to brighten up a little bit more here at Anglesey. Now this is interesting. Farkini's getting caught a bit of traffic here. Well, you say traffic, but it's the scrap for 3rd, 4th and 5th. He's sandwiched in between. Andy Bicknell in front for Dispatch Bay Express, and behind him Team Viking with Mark Home at the wheel. As Neil Plymouth stays in the slipstream, he's either going to try and line up Riley Phillips for a pass back into Rocket Complex. There is Mark Home. If you watch them under brakes, the momentum up the hill will help them slow down a bit quicker. You just get a sense maybe that Neil Plymouth, the wily old fox in this championship, might well have a few tricks up his sleeve to try and keep with Riley Phillips here. But if Riley's sheer pace is too much for Neil, then nothing he does. He might not have a choice. It might be that whatever he does, he might not be able to keep up with him. So Bicknell, Farkini, and then Mark Home as they come down through the corkscrew. You see they're just their inside wheel just lifting up as they go through the big dip through that corkscrew. And now down the short front straight again. So still Team Olympian in the lead then. PLR in 2nd place. Then the scrap for 3rd is on between Dispatch Bay, Uvio and Team Viking. Rest of the top 10. Team Greenheath is in 6th position. Make Happen Racing currently 7th. And then we've got the 2 Greenswell Motorsport cars, 125 and 263, that are currently sandwiching the 101 car just behind them a little bit further back. Also trying to make up time, as we saw earlier battling with the 2 leaders when it was PLR versus Ubia Hoffman's Lotus, is the MJ Tech GT car in 11th place. Speaking of position changes, here comes Farkini, round the outside on through School, through the kink, up the inside, and he has track position now. Bicknell might try and fight him or try at least look for the switchback, but again, a nice classic move. That's the move which everyone wants to try and make, getting the run off Church, that long right hand that takes you onto that back section. And then the very fast School curve, then starts to climb uphill for the braking zone at Rocket. There's Mark Home, 5th position. Trying to make his way through. These guys had a quite successful 2020. They're up there on the podium several times and were in contention for the championship, but ultimately couldn't quite make it work out. And so, whilst the top 2 continue to pull away with very similar lap times in terms of pace, both of them with a 125.5, so 121.5, there was only 0.04 of a second in it in Team Olympian's favour. So Neil Plymouth is showing that he's every bit as quick as Riley Phillips at the moment, which is very impressive indeed. And I say that like I'm pleasantly surprised, but then again, as we say, Neil Plymouth is the most experienced man on the FunCup grid. He's been in the mix ever since he started in about 2002, so he's driven every single race. So it's pretty much there's nothing, anything that Neil Plymouth doesn't know about FunCup racing probably isn't worth knowing, and he could probably definitely write the book on how to succeed in FunCup. He has been a former multiple champion himself. There, that's a position change. That is a change of position, because that is now, if I'm correct, that should be Cian Jewis going past the MJ Tech GT car, and that should be Martin Gibson who's lost the place. So that's up to 11th place, and that's now the highest placed car that's showing as a lap down. So that's quite intriguing. This is also one to watch, because Gary Bate has managed to use the clear track he's got in front of him to his advantage, and has started to pull in the top 3 cars in front of him. There's the scrap for 11th and 12th going on. The Make Happen racing car is back in 7th, and then the 2 green saws sandwiching the Stand 2 motorsport car, so that's a bit further back down the road. You watch Gary Bate now in car 14 for Team Greenheath. Heads down into the hairpin. Now then, I think the third set of pit stops is now underway, so a few cars coming to pit. Then we saw the GT Radial car was coming as one of the first to make a stop. The 104 EDF Motorsport car is in, so that's now going to be its 3rd scheduled stop. The 107 car is also in as well, for We Have No Idea. So as also heading out, looks like now that's Dispatch Bay Express. So Dispatch Bay Express have made their 3rd stop early. Into the pit lane has come 263, which is Greenswall Motorsport, and also is the Stand 2 Motorsport car. So that's going to be a battle between the 2 for position in the pit lane. As we see there, 107, that is the driver change going on. That would have been 107. Jumping out would have been Paul Calladine, so that's now Alan Baldwin getting back in. So away he goes. Ellis Hadley. Well, they've got 3 drivers, so 2 drivers. So that's Ellis Hadley getting back in. Steve Peake was at the wheel for... reverse up. Ellis Hadley was in for that 3rd stint. Steve Peake is now back in. So Steve Peake, the former I think he was a motocross or a trials rider, which has now gone into the world of car racing, and has now managed to go from 2 wheels to 4 wheels pretty successfully. There is Fabio Randaccio, and that's a lock-up for the 125 car for the Lewises. That is going to be the 125 car, which is one of the Greenswall cars, and that's Paul Lewis at the wheel. He'll be handing back over to Ryan Lewis when he makes his 2nd stops. So the pit stop for Dispatch Bay Express, which now puts Harry Mailer back into the car. That now gives a free run of Uvia Hoffman's Lotus with about a 4.8 second gap in clear air, which might well actually help him quite well if he's looking to try and get an overcut. There is the 225 car, Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, double race winners for this year. Farkini at the wheel, and he will then hand over once again to his equally talented teammate Fabio Randaccio. But getting caught in traffic might not be helping him here. He's just getting caught up with some of the cars that just made their stop. So Ellis Hadley will have jumped out, of course, back to Steve Peake. So Steve Peake now in for his 2nd stint. There he is, number 97 car, GT Radial. And it looks like Farkini's managed to clear most of the traffic that's just come out of the pit lane. So now turn their way back into the corkscrew. And no pit stop just yet. They do like to leave it sometimes at the UVO team right to the end of the pit window sometimes. I've even seen them where the rule, if I'm correct, is that effectively so long as you pit on the same lap that you're shown the pit lane is closed for, that means it's your last lap. You have to pit on this lap, otherwise anyone who pits outside the pit stop window, it actually makes what should be a change. You do get a time penalty for that. Oh, that's the 246 car. That's the EDF Motorsport machine. That is Vlad Vasiliev that I think has parked that car up, I'm afraid. Let's see if he's actually just pitted. He hasn't, so that would have been, yes, that would have been Vlad Vasiliev that's parked that car, I'm afraid, off on the grass. Now, I think that's possibly up at Peel Corner, I think. Trying to work out exactly where that is. I think it looks like it's more at the top of the circuit, but that's another car that's hit mechanical problems. And they have been running 15th, so sadly that's them done. I think, yes it is Peel. So that's at the Peel Corner. So whatever's gone wrong mechanically with that EDF Motorsport car, I'm sure that Eddie Farrow squad will want to try and get that car back to the works, back to the pit, the garage, and fix as quickly as possible to get it out for, again, this evening's race. I think it's maybe the saving grace for some of the teams that they have got another race this afternoon to, I guess, try and make up for as many points as they might have lost earlier on. Whilst we're looking at all of that, the lead gap has now gone out between Team Olympian and PLR Racing now to 1.97 seconds. So Riley Phillips has managed to get away from Neil Plummer and negate any potential threat that he might have been earlier on. heading out of Church Corner. It's the 107 car that we have no idea can't just be in the pit lane. That's the Agro Caliente car, number 171. I think that car's been in the pit lane for quite a while because that's now coming back out, being pushed down to the garage. So that now I think that car was quite far down the order. That car, that's 36 laps down. So that's just been in the pit lane for a while, making a stop. And I'm going to have a guess that actually at the wheel of that car is probably 171. Maybe for their third stint, possibly Rob Perry I'm going to have a stab at, I think, because I think both Matt Perry and Rob Hogg have, Rob Perry and Matt Hogg, I've got the names mixed around. Rob Perry and Matt Hogg, I think that possibly Rob Perry's gone back into that car for his third stint, so, but they've lost quite a bit of time, they've lost several laps, so they're going to be finishing at the moment in 20th position, because the Stobart Sport car, which we saw earlier on with steam coming out of the back, that car also had to pit and has been in the mix for in there for quite a while. It's currently 43 laps down off the lead, and hopefully if they can get that car fixed, it'll be back out for the seedings race, which will be starting it just before 8 o'clock and finishing it just before 11. So that's one to keep an eye on. There's your leader, Team Olympian, the defending champions, and you have to wonder, and I'm going to touch wood here because I want this to be a commentator's curse after the first 2 rounds. You have to wonder, hopefully this is third time lucky for Team Olympian, because Riley Phillips is certainly doing quite a number here in order to put his team in the best possible position. There's the Lewis siblings. That's Paul jumping out. Ryan will jump in for his second stint. But of course the rule is, whilst the car's being refueled, no one can touch the car. It's pretty much the same sort of rule as any other endurance racing out there, where essentially get your refueling done first. Safety car has been deployed for the third time here this afternoon on my timing screen. Safety car, there's the yellow flags in the background, so you should see some safety car boards, I think, when we come back onto the pit straight, and the RunYourFleet.com safety car's been called on. Now then, that's quite smart, because these cars have pit car radios, and I think Team Olympian will have sensed there's a safety car board going out, and they'll have called either that's just really good timing for them, or that is a smart call from Team Olympian. But Riley Phillips now dives straight into the pit lane just before the safety car's gone out, so this means he will lose minimum time out here, and I'm pretty sure this will now also see a flurry of pit stops from cars that haven't pitted yet. Team Viking are also in, 157 is in as well. That's the Team Caldwell's back in, so that'll be handing back over, I think, for the 4th stint to one of the Caldwells. That'll be to John Caldwell to jump into that car. So Nick Nunn, Harry's son in Mini Challenge. Nick Nunn will jump in. That with 99 JPR Black Widow's car is also in there too. So that car should, I think, for the 4th, it be Dominic Jackson back in against. Their cycle restarts. And it is for, by the looks of things, to recover the stricken EDF Motorsport car of Vlad Vasiliev and Matt Dawkins. It was Vlad at the wheel of that car. Also the pit lane, which you see in the background there, not only was there, I think that's the MTJ GT car, either that or the Make Happen Racing, but also as well the Uvia Hoppers Lotus car is in for its pit stop. Out goes the Team Viking machine 110. I think Dominic Jackson's getting strapped back into the JPR Black Widows machine number 99. And I think just down in the pit lane there, I think that's Jamie heading over to Mark Combe, I think. So Marshall's there to try and recover the 246 EDF car. So I think we're going to, once it's been recovered, we're going to head down to Jamie, who I think might be with Mark Home from Team Viking. Let's see what he has to say after what was the was a...
So down here at Team Viking, it's all got a bit busy down here in the pit lane because there's been an incident out on circuit. And Mark Home, you wouldn't think he's only been in the car for about 25 minutes. It's hard work out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a physical old circuit, isn't it, Anglesey? But it rewards that precision and absolutely punishes a little bit of overdriving. But yeah, no, we're back up the order. I tell you, I'd have never thought it today. We haven't been driving very well yesterday or in qualifying, and then we've just hooked it together, and we're in the hunt. We're not quite there, but going well.
And the key is, because you've got to remember, it's 2 races this weekend, so you've got to try and stay out of trouble as well, and minimise any damage, especially with the splitter, because at Church, if you lose your splitter, that's going to hurt you going up to Rocket, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Vikings have always tried to keep out of trouble and not mix it up. I mean, the first stint, there were 7 of us all together. By the time we came in, there was only 3 left. So the other 4 cars are out of the race completely. So it's just, you know, what's the point of going in a rocket and diving on the inside and then high risk for them and you? So maybe in the last 10 minutes of the race when it's for position or points, you know, push on. But now it's about a waiting game. We sat behind Uvio for that stint and we caught them up and they towed us along. Lovely.
Excellent stuff. We're going to get some water. Right, as we've got a bit of a safety car interlude, we'll give Scott a bit of a break and have a bit of a wander, Ant, shall we? And see who we can find. Greensaw Motorsport came in with brothers Ryan and Paul Lewis. That's the car 125 car, and they were very keen to get out before the safety car was deployed. Team boss Sean Stafford Atkinson, herself a very quick lady racer. Let me see if I can find Ryan or even Nikki. Nikki, if we have a quick word with you. You were very keen to get Ryan out, weren't you, because of the safety car?
We could. We'd been given a bit of upfront information from our other driver that there was likely to be a safety car because of what was happening on circuit. So we pitted our other driver, 125, straight away, and we were really keen to get him out before the safety car. We just managed it with 1 second to spare.
It's been a very fraught first race. Normally with double headers, the first race is a little bit calmer, the second one a bit busier, but it seems to be sort of a role reversal so far, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Such close racing, lots of excitement, everybody seems to be having a great time. So yeah, we certainly are.
And secretly, do you wish you were out there?
No.
Yes, you do.
Get away. Next question.
Well, we said at Silverstone maybe you and Sean get a team. It's nice to have Sean here as well, a very quick lady racer like yourself. Are you keeping the boys under control?
Well, we're trying our very best. It's a difficult job, but somebody's got to do it.
Excellent. We'll catch up later, Nikki. Thanks. Always great to have a chat with Nikki Greensaw. Let's see who we got. We got the Stobart Sport team down here. Unfortunately, they've hit some engine trouble, and if you have a look in their garage, they're having a engine change, obviously ready for the next race. So it's a bit frustrating for them because they were running really well up in the Masters class. We've got a Masters class here, which is for any team with drivers over the age of 55. They're eligible for Masters. And of course, we also have an incentive as well for any new driver, as we have to make sure the mast doesn't slip, who has never raced FunCup before. Doesn't matter what you've done, and you get a team together and you win your first race, FunCup will give you £10,000. So there's a £10,000 prize fund if you win your first ever FunCup race. If you've never driven one before, as I said, doesn't matter what you've done before, whether it's touring cars, GTs, rallying, whatever, there is a £10,000 prize fund. Still got the safety car out on track, so I hand back to Scott Woodwis, who will run through the current situation at the moment.
Thank you, Jamie. Good to hear from some of our personalities down the pit lane for FunCup Endurance. Of course, it's always a wonderful paddock full of different personnel, with people with different stories, different personalities, different characters, and different sort of motives to go racing in FunCup, which is always fantastic. So great to see. Also great to see the sun's also starting to peek out as well through the overcast clouds overhead. So it's a bit of a microclimate here in the UK rather than anything else. So it's even though it is summertime, actual sunshine on a British summertime day is sometimes a bit odd. So, that's another car that stopped underneath the safety car. That's the JPR Black Widows machine. Now that car had problems earlier on after it had an engine change to be mentioned. That you have to mention an engine change between qualifying and the race. But looks to whatever issues that they had, which forced it in the first time, seemed to either re-manifested itself. And again, you can see there's a little bit of steam billowing at the back of that car. So I wonder, is that another engine-related issue? It's rather unfortunate, but again, the JPR Black Widows car is another one that's hit trouble. So that would have been Dominic Jackson at the wheel after it made its third scheduled stop. So that will, I think, extend the safety car a bit further now we've had that cycle of pit stops. What we can do is run you through the sequence of where we are in terms of the top 10, in terms of the race order. So, and we should be able to also keep you up to date with who's driving what. So, under the safety car then, with an hour and 14 to go in this first of two FunCup Endurance Championship races here at Anglesey today, it's Dispatch Bay Express in car 221, which leads the way currently at the moment, and that should have, I believe, after it's that should be now Harry Mailer at the wheel of that car. Second place at the moment is PLR Racing, and PLR Racing, which is car 146. Car 146 has should be Ben Pitch back at the wheel now, because he's handed over. Neil Plymouth's handed back over to Ben Pitch, so should be at the wheel. He's now got the headlights in place, bit of headlight practice ahead of tonight. Third is Team Olympian. That should now have Chris Devell back at the wheel of that car after he's taken over from Riley Phillips. Fourth is now Uwe Hopper's Lotus, now should be driven by Fabio Randaccio. Up to fifth through that pit stop cycle, very impressive stuff for them, is car 212, which is Make Happen Racing. That should now be Greg Evans at the wheel of that car, taking over from Steve Walton. Sixth is Team Viking. We just heard from Mark Holm here saying that it was quite hot and hard work in these FunCup cars, even in the short stints that he has to do, around about 20-25 minutes. But you get it gets quite intense in there. Anyway, he's now handed back over to Nick Nunn, so he's now back in for his second stint now. Seventh place is car 14, which is Team Greenheath, and that is Simon Smith at the wheel. We've now got 9th place for car 101, Stand 2 Motorsport, which now has at the wheel back of it Martin Compton. He's now got back for his second stint. And rounding out the top 10 is the second of the Greensall Motorsport cars, number 263. And that is now for the 4th stint. That's now Nigel Greensource. That's in for his first of 2 stints. And so what we believe is both Simon and Ted Smith have completed their stints for this first race. So now it's going to be Nigel Greensource in for his first stint. He'll then hand back to Sam Smith for his second, and then Nigel will get back in for the final stint before the end to run the car to the end of the race, in the event to try and move up a couple of positions and make up some time. So the safety car lights are back out once again, back for our third restart here at Anglesey for our first FunCup endurance race. And now the responsibility falls back to Ben Pitch to get the racing back underway. He will choose exactly the moment to get back going again. He's stacking up the field. I think with the rising engine notes, I think we're about to get racing underway pretty quickly. There might be a bit of traffic with some of the top terminals to work their way through, but it's green flags all around once more. And we are back to racing here at Anglesey for round 3 of the 2021 circuit. Green flags all on the pit wall as they back up to racing speeds once more. So, out through turn 1 and already into the hairpin, and there's Fabio Randaccio making a dive already on the Caliente car, and he was also having a look at Chris develop the inside into the hairpin, but he thought better of it. He put his nose in there and said, "Hi Chris, just remember I'm here, I'm still here," even though it was on a slow lap in the formation lap. We're still looking to try and get past you here on the circuit, and I reckon with the run he's got through Church Corner, he might put himself in a good position here. It's a good restart, right? No, change of position in fact. So Dispatch Bay Express is in the lead off that restart. Forgive me, I thought it was PLR Racing. There's a big dive up the inside, under brakes, into Rocket Complex for Fabio Randaccio, and that was a pretty straightforward pass for third place. Chris Devell didn't really fight it too much, even there is an hour and 10 minutes to go or so. He knows that there's probably going to be some time to bring it back together, and he knows that especially in the last stint where they'll have Riley Phillips back at the wheel again, that will certainly work in his favour, and they might well get themselves back into a position where they could be challenging for the victory. But it's been quite a back and forth race between these top few drivers. There is Christian Rose, Chris Devell, as the leaders come back out of bus stop and down the pit straight again. So the Dispatch Bay still leads with Harry Mailer at the wheel. It's then Pitch in second place, Fabio Randaccio third for Uwe Holtman's Lotus. Team Olympian down to fourth now with Chris Devell at the wheel. The Make Happen racing car that's been steadily moving up into fifth. It just saw at the edge of shot there. There it is. I think that's the former car which I think Henry Dawes and Chris Hart used to race, but of course those two have moved on to other things, endurance racing elsewhere, and also to things like GT Cup and the Ginetta racing as well. Of course, they applied their craft in FunCup. They're also coming under threat now from Team Viking in 6th position. This will be now Nick Nunn trying to close in here on the 212 car. That will be Greg Evans at the wheel to try and defend. As now we see the Caliente car just thinking about to move up the inside of the MJ Tech GT machine. And of course you have to remember the 171 car is quite a way down the order. That's now got, I think, at the wheel of it, I think it's made 3 scheduled stops, which means it should now be 171. I suspect Matt Perry at the wheel of that after Matt Hogg at the wheel. Keep getting the names of the two mixed around, I do apologise. But Matt Perry, I don't know again, Matt Hogg is in that 4th stint at the moment. I will get it right at one point. Matt Hogg should be at the wheel of that car now. And Team Viking started to close in now to try and snatch 5th position back from Make Happen Racing. Also at the back of that queue you saw coming in was the Team Greenheath car, and then just behind them is the car which started or led early on, which is the car with Sam Smith at the wheel. which now has the great Nigel Greensall now starting to try and put some laps in there. Whereabouts he is, 2:63. Let's look at his lap times for Nigel Greensall. He's currently sat at the moment in 8th position. He's passed his teammate 125, so the other Greensall Motorsport car has moved aside for the boss himself. And his last lap was 1 minute 21.482, so he's actually on the pace of a leader, because the Dispatch Bay Express car with Harry Mailer at the wheel has done a 121.372 as its last lap, and Greensall's lap was only a tenth slower. So he seems to be one of the quickest guys out there, and will certainly want to try and pick his way through the traffic and try and make up some positions here from some of the cars that are immediately in front of him if he can. Seeing everything just stacking up a little bit more now as they come up through Peel. And now into the left-hander left and the right through the complex of the corkscrew. Now to come back down the back straight towards the left-hander. I'm trying to line up the Greg Evans 262 car, and it's the Agua Caliente car. I think even though others might feel he's being a bit of a nuisance here, I suspect he's sort of enjoying himself at the moment with the pace he's running with the leaders. Now, Nigel Greensall's not hanging around here. He's just passed the Greenheath car, so that's now he's just managed to pick his way past number 14, which now has back up the wheel a bit Simon Smith. And already you can see he's past one. He's going for a second hit inside of Nick Nunn, and picks him off pretty straightforward by the time they get towards Rocket Complex. And knowing Nigel's place, I wouldn't even put it past him to get past Greg Evans before this lap is done. In fact, he's straight onto his tail, so don't count out the 263 Greensall car just yet. They've got their two fastest drivers in for this stint and the next two. As we said, it'll be Sam Smith who will be back in the car for stint 5, and then Nigel will then get back in to take the car back all the way to the finish. And if he's going at this pace, he might well, and given what Sam Smith's pace was earlier on the start of the race, when he was able to pull quite a substantial gap at the head of the field, I suspect we could be seeing these guys picking off the opposition one by one fairly succinctly. Coming up to getting inside the last hour here at Anglesey. As I mentioned, FunCup races are never dull. There is always something interesting going on. There's something. In fact, there was Nigel Greensall just putting himself into the Greg Evans' mirrors, and again just darting out saying, hi there Greg, just remember me, might want to get past you in a second, and he might carry a really nice bit of momentum. He's really close here on the exit of Church Corner, and here he goes. Side by side, down the back straight, through the school curve, and once again, before they even get to the braking zone at Rocket and touch the middle pedal, he is through into another position. That is now up into 5th position, so that's now Nigel Greensall up into the top 5. Next target, Chris Tavel in car number 1, Team Olympia, the reigning champions. And we've still got quite a bit until we get into this last pit stop sequence. So they turn their way out of the right-hander at Peel. Now back into the left-hander at the bus stop. Now, I imagine that Nigel Greensall will probably pick off the 171 car fairly quickly, given that he's several laps back. It's through turn 1. Will he make a move into the hairpin? Yes, he does. Straight and true under brakes into the hairpin and through into clear air, which will then immediately get swallowed up by the number 1 car in front. So Nigel Greensall here, the man on the move. There he is, car 263. There's the Agua Caliente car, which is back in 20th place, still circulating. There's only one car that hasn't gone back out on the circuit, and that's the Stobart Sport car, the EDF Motorsport car, which had problems. Well, that car, okay, that car, there's 3 cars showing us being stopped down the track. But we'll get back to that in a second, because, amazingly, for the 3rd time up towards Rocket Corner, up goes Nigel Greensall behind them. You saw Nick Nunn there, who was elbowing his way past Greg Evans. So that's 2 position changes in 1 corner. That's Nigel Greensall now up into 4th position. at the expense of Chris Devell, and then just behind them we saw the Team Viking car with Nick Nunn, then squeezing past Greg Evans to demote their Make Happen Racing car down to 7th position. Now then, for the end of this stint, the gap between Greensall Motorsports and those guys, UV Hoffman's Lotus, is 4.8 seconds, and he's lapped half a second quicker. Now, in terms of the pit stop cycle, I think there's a real chance here that the 263 car could definitely find itself on the podium, because the rate that Nigel Greensall is just taking chunks of time out of the cars in front of him is quite extraordinary. He's got the 61 MJ Tech GT car, if I can get my words out, the MJ Tech GT car in front of him. Now that car at the moment, car 61, currently has at the wheel Scott Jeffs, who's handed back for Martin Gibson. Pretty easy pickings, isn't it? Nice and simple. Has the pace advantage all the way down the back straight, and once more, that seems to be his favourite move, Nigel. Line them up on the exit of Church Corner, use the momentum all the way down the back straight, and complete the pass before you get to the school kink, or even under brakes for the Rocket Complex. So, let's see how much, if at all, the lap traffic has been affecting Nigel Greensall's lap times. There, in fact, is our leader, not to forget about him too much. That's, of course, Harry Mailer, who continues to extend his advantage over Ben Pitch. The gap is now 7.5 seconds. The gap between PLR and Uvia Hoffmans is now down to 3.3. What's interesting here is that Dispatch Bay Express are pulling away from PLR Racing, who's been caught by Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, who's been caught by a second by Nigel Greensall in the Greensall Motorsport car 263 and 4. So second, third and fourth are closing in on each other, because Uvio's catching PLR, but Greensall's catching them both. So this is going to be quite a fight for second, third and fourth. At the moment, there's no fight for the lead, because Harry Mailer is really showing everyone exactly what this team can do. Out through the Rocket Complex. And back on the short straight towards Peel once again. It's looking pretty good so far, heading into the last hour, but as we've seen in FunCup races so many times, it is never over until it's over. I mean, and I think even a case in point for that is definitely Team Olympian, because twice they've been in a strong position to win and look pretty commanding, and then various factors prevented them from taking the victory in both of the first two races. They had a fuel miscalculation at Donington Park, which meant they were forced to have to make a late splash and dash to get to the flag, and they lost the victory by that. And then they had, fortunately, an engine issue and an engine blow at Silverstone, again while they were in a strong position, I think even contending for the lead as well. And both times the car that's been there to pick up the pieces has been Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, or at least taken advantage of it. Now then, what about second, third and fourth? There is Ben Pitch. What about third and fourth? There is Fabio Randaccio. There is Nigel Greensall. What are the gaps now? Well, it's 3.5 seconds. In fact, Randaccio was slower than Ben Pitch in that last lap, and he lost another 0.7 of a second to Nigel Greensall on that lap as well. So Nigel Greensall is on the prowl here. 2.6 seconds is the gap between third and fourth, as Chris Devell puts another lap on Matt Hogg. Team Viking not too far away, and Matt Hogg is reluctant to let that position go. I think he knows he's several laps down, but again, I feel he's sort of enjoying himself here, because arguably if you're as quick as the cars around you, there's not really any need for a blue flag. It's down to the car that's in a higher position to try and make the way around you, and the Matt Hogg car is certainly doing everything he can to, I think unnecessarily for him at least, make his life difficult. At least he will feel unnecessarily difficult. It's a big lock up there from Hogg as they went into the corkscrew. And so now, as we head into the final hour here at this first of two races for the FunCup Championship, as the pit window now opens, it is Dispatch Bay Express who lead the way now by almost 10 seconds, 9.4 to be exact, as we'll come back to that in a second, because up the inside for potentially taking 5th position goes Team Viking. Nick Nunn almost just leans on Chris Devell, edges him onto the curb on the exit, and now they're side by side on the run towards Church Corner, but the better momentum off the corner gives Devell the chance to sweep across and hold on to the position through Church. But this is the classic move that everyone's been setting up positions for all day long. The run down the back straight, it's the curve through School Corner, and that's all not for position E. That's the 207 car trying to unlap itself on Scott Jeffs. So that's the 207 car, the Agua Caliente car. But it's both the Agua Caliente cars. I think they're just enjoying themselves out there, even though they are several laps down. They're just having fun with the cars they're racing around them, and that's quite working out well for them, but not so well, I suppose, for the cars that are battling for the lead, because they know that they don't need to get involved in those fights, but can't really escape those cars if they're lapping at similar pace. What it has done is it's brought Nick Nunn and also Greg Evans into play here in this scrap that's going on for 5th, 6th and 7th. And Team Olympia ran a little wide back. The reason why they ran wide is because they're heading into the pit lane, so I should have seen that coming. But what might be frustrating for Chris Devell is he comes in at the same time as the Agua Caliente car, so he must be thinking, for goodness sake, please just move, please get out of my way. But he might try and get a quicker pit stop. I know for a fact they have some very quick pit stops down at Team Olympia. They were practicing last night and observing their pit stop practice. It was like an art form. It was like a fantastic way they kind of synchronised everything. They were very quick, very efficient, very professional. And I think they must have some of the fastest pit stops out there in FunCup. There used to be a maximum time rule, but they did away with that, so we said, right, but as quick as we talked about it, in the space of what, maybe 30-40 seconds, they've really made their change, refueled if they need to, and they've gone straight back out. Now, that's the 207 car, and I think, has that been possibly not, because there was a puff of dirt, there's a little dust cloud in the background, so I suspect that someone's gone off in the background. I think possibly maybe this car 207 that's recovered back onto the road. As we look here, this is just behind them, the 97 car, which is the GT Radio car that stopped early on and brought out the first safety car. Now that is into its 4th or 5th stint. So I suspect if let's say it's made 4 proper pit stops, I'd say that actually in that case it should then be Ellis Hadley back in it now for the 5th stint. And then we have Track Focus to back in once more. They had some problems earlier on, but that looks like a more routine pit stop. There's a bit of effort to push it away and get it restarted, but eventually the VAJ will go into live, or are they pushing it back into the garage? They are pushing it back into the garage, so that's a real shame. Track Focus with issues. We have no name car just coming into the... Sorry, we have no idea car coming in to make its scheduled stop. So out will jump on the 107 car for this penultimate stint will be 107. That will be jumping out Paul Calladine, and Alan Baldwin will get back in for this stint.
Where they are situated in the country.
So work goes on. I think it's possibly safe to assume there's no fuel that's going in. If there has been fuel, it's gone in already before they started work on the driver change and doing up the belts. As it's a single-seater based chassis with a silhouette body over the top of it, it is a central driving position, which makes it a real true proper race car feel, where you're sat right in the middle of the car, a bit like a McLaren F1 in terms of your driving position. It means you're properly centrally sat, and it really does give you a proper all-encompassing feel of being part of the race car. So out goes the We Have No Idea team. I'm sure has plenty of an idea by this point that they've done 3 meetings. But ever the humorous name by Paul Calladine. There is the Matt Hogg and Rob Perry Agua Caliente car. The 2 Agua Caliente cars just seem to be having fun at the moment, which is quite impressive. Now this actually might be the 5th pit stop, because I think they came in to check something before, without actually changing the driver. So I think this is now Steve Peake getting in, if I'm correct. Just handing over from Ellis Hadley. They've also had the multiple-time Isle of Man TT winner John McGuinness part of this team for the first 2 meetings. They had a decent enough start, but then things took a bit of a nosedive at Silverstone, where John McGuinness started the car and then didn't really get further than the first 2 corners before making contact. Or the car did get back out, it was way down the order and without any chance of getting sadly a strong, what could be considered a strong result. But John McGuinness certainly has enjoyed the brief transition and foray into circuit racing on 4 wheels rather than 2, and making the most of it. Hopefully, whilst he's not here this weekend, hopefully he will be back for the next rounds, starting at Alton Park. So here, this is PLR Racing. This is the change from the lead on track here, because Uwe Hopper's Lotus have now pitted, and the pace of Nigel Greenstall has certainly shown that he's been pushing on very, very quickly indeed. But I'm not sure if there's even been a driver change. I'm not sure either way if there has or not. Up the inside goes the Greenstall Motorsport. I think it is Nigel Greenstall at the wheel. And while Ben Pitch is trying to close, even though he's still got to make a pit stop as well, I suspect so has Nigel as well. But impressively, into the lead goes Nigel Greenstall. So this car, which took the lead at the start of the race in the hands of Sam Smith, has now gone back into it with Nigel Greenstall at the wheel. And because I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think. No, sorry. That's for second place. Forgive me, I was 1 place down on my timing stream. So Greenstall Motorsport up into second place now. My timing screen shows me that the PLR car hasn't pitted yet. It's only made 3 pit stops. The Greenstall Motorsport car showing is having made 4. So that says to me that there has been a driver change. Either that, it was an extra stop that was needed, maybe under the safety car, but it would possibly suggest to me that I think, look at his pace, it might well still be Nigel Greenstall at the wheel. Then again, with him and Sam Smith being able to set fairly consistently quick lap times, might not be the case, but have to wait and see. Now the JPR Black Widows car is back out. Looks like it's been in the pit lane for a while, and also being pushed backwards is the 125 Greenstall Motorsport car. Now that car, is that hitting dramas? That was from what was 8th position. I think that car is either heading into the garage or has been in the garage in recent times, because it was running as high as 8th. It's now tumbling down the timing string, which suggests to me it's only just being put back away, it being held in the garage here with more issues for that car. So that's been a slightly unusually attrition-filled race in many cases. Several teams hitting strife for various reasons, whether it's simply just the fact they haven't been to Anglesey for a while, or just maybe just the weather conditions, or whatever it is. It's something that's affecting the cars a little bit more than it would do normally, because it might, of course, could be the humidity as well, because there is quite a bit of humidity that goes on.
2 minutes. Yeah.
And the mix is Jamie's pretty much borrow somebody for 2 minutes for having a chat. I think we'll go down to him now, have a chat, see who he's got and who he's going to have a chat to after the next round of pit stops is set to be completed.
So down here with Team Caldwell, welcome back to John Caldwell. You had to miss the first 2 rounds because of the ongoing travel restrictions. Is it nice to be back though?
Well, it's nice to be back, yes, but we really need to improve our performance quite dramatically. We came back and we were doing 40-second pit stops, so well, we have got that down to about 20 now, so we're a bit, that's a positive, but we've got a long way to go to be anything like competitive.
I mean, you had to learn quickly last year to come from a radical into one of these. It is night and day difference, as you've been very open about it, haven't you? But at Thruxton, you proved you weren't scared to get your elbows out, were you?
No, we did okay at Thruxton, I think. Today we've had a little bit of bad luck because they called safety car when I was over the far side. I came in as a consequence, but we lost a lap coming in because the safety car hadn't gone out even though they called it. So that's a learning curve as well. So next time I shall certainly make sure that the safety cars come out on the track before I come in. Yeah, there's a lot of learning curves on it, but we're oversteering really badly as well. And because none of us have got the experience to know, we don't understand whether that's the car or us, or a bit of both, So, so we're on a big, steep learning curve, hopefully.
And is the plan to try and do the rest of the season subject to obviously you being able to travel backwards and forwards?
Well, I'm not sure we can because of the COVID restrictions. Because I've got to go to Monaco for a charity ball for Cordwell children, so I've got to be out there, and then I'm not sure I can get back. So we're constantly under these quarantine conditions, aren't we? So I don't really know yet at the moment.
Well, welcome back. We'll catch up a bit later. It's also great to have Cian Jewis here as well. We'll have a quick chat with you. It's a bit different to Carrera Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can really compare the two. They are very, very different. You know, 30-minute sprint race into a 3-hour FunCup race is very, very different. But no, nonetheless, we're having fun and we're enjoying it. So let's see where it happens, especially in the night race.
And it's pretty full on, isn't it? I mean, I suppose the only thing really to compare it to is maybe when you did Ginetta Juniors. That's obviously full on for 25-30 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's nice to go racing again and have some fun battles. But yeah, it's 3 hours of fun. So let's see where it leads.
Well, welcome, and hopefully you're enjoying it, and we'll catch up later.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Jamie. Well, Monaco for charity ball, how the other half live, I suppose. That's not too bad a gig if you can get it, isn't it? But yeah, good to have John Caldwell in the mix. And also having Cian Jewis, of course, who I have to admit, I forgot what he was doing Carrera Cup, but of course he on BRSC Seashores, of course, has raced before as a former British F4 champion. He's also been in contention for the British F3 title as well. Very, very quick young racer, and good to have him on this appearance. Even if it may be a one-off, this is the kind of championship where it does attract these really sort of high-profile and recognisable names jumping into the mix. You've got Steve Pete and John McGuinness. You've had JK racing the championship before. We've had all sorts of different top drivers in the mix. Anthony Reid, of course, has raced before. You get some British GT drivers jumping as well. And it's quite a championship that does attract some top drivers. Now, yellow flag was out there just heading into the complex at the Corkscrew. As Dispatch Bay dives into the pit lane, make it scheduled stop. That should be, I think, if I'm correct, Harry Mailer handing back over to Andy Bicknell. But there was a yellow flag flying on the exit of Peel, approaching the run towards the Corkscrew. Why that was, I'm not sure, because there's no sign of a safety car as far as I can see, unless the time machine is about to prove me wrong and switch to a safety car. But everyone appears to be circulating just fine. There is the EDF Motorsport car 104, back in 13th position. And now, as we head towards now we're deep into the final third in this race. It's looking like it's going to be quite the occasion at the moment. It's been a fascinating race all the way through so far, from start to finish. It really has been a magnificent, typical FunCup action-packed race. Lots of brilliant battling and back and forth, and lots of strategy involved in trying to beat each other through the pit stop cycles. And it has now left us, now with the fact that the Dispatch Bay car is making its pit stop. Everyone, by the looks of things, have made their fourth pit stops out of 5, because I anticipate there's going to be another set of pit stops before the end of the race. And that will mean that to the end of the race we should be getting our final stops at the roughly end. I'd say maybe even about half an hour or so, but we'll have to wait and see how that final stint plays out with the quicker drivers in the mix. Walk up there for Dispatch Bay, who have exited the pit lane, but they've done so behind Dispatch Bay, so behind PLR, not behind themselves, behind PLR Racing. So now it is Andy Bicknell versus Neil Plimmer again. They make their way out of Peel Corner. 45 minutes left on the clock still to go. And there is the hope that we might get a nice grandstand finish here. Team Greenheath have moved up nicely through the pit stop cycle. They're also up to third position, a little wide there on the exit of the bus stop corner there from our leader. Neil Plimmer, again, experienced as he is, likes to use all the track a little bit more. These guys have been successful at Anglesey before in the past, if I remember correctly, in their Team Honeywell guys, which is good to see. What's also good to see, you can see on the background on the banks there, that Anglesey have allowed some limited spectators here, of course, due to the ongoing restrictions kind of in Wales. Have allowed a select number of spectators or a reduced number of spectators to come and have a look. So it's wonderful to have some spectators here at Anglesey watching the track action. Great to have them back. And of course, hopefully we'll see a few more spectators once again as the roadmap out of lockdown continues to progress. So just under 45 minutes to go now. Still PLR racing with a 2.8 second advantage out of that, what I believe is the penultimate cycle of pit stops. Dispatch Bay now in second place. Team Greenheath is third. Uvia Hoffman's Lotus fourth at the moment, and they're only just ahead of Team Olympian. So that could be a battle brewing there between Fabio Randaccio. No, that's Farkini back at the wheel again. And I think it's Christian Rose now who's at the wheel of car number 1. It should be, because then it will be Riley Phillips who will then take that car to the finish when they come in for their, what I believe should be their final stop. Stand 2 Motorsport have had a quiet but very solid race to move up the order. They've now got themselves up to 7th place. I think it's Warren McKinley at the wheel of that car now. I will check the running order of the drivers as we see Andy Bicknell trying his best to try and close in. What's the gap now? Okay, he was slower by 1.2 seconds on that last lap, so the gap is going quite substantially. Whether that time it was a mistake or maybe it was a back marker, I'm not sure. I think that's the 157 car, that's the Caldwell car that's just going through shot there. Now this is interesting. Here is now Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, and this is now going to be a real fight for the positions here, because we've got Uvia Hoffman's Lotus, Team Olympian, Team Greenheath, and not too far away Team Viking, and they've got a 5-second advantage over stand 2. I think that's the other Agua Caliente car behind them. But here comes Christian Rose on the inside of Farkini, trying to squeeze through, open the gap in towards Rocket Complex, looks down the outside into the left-hander. He's got to be careful, because it looks like that was Gary Bate trying to also get into the mix here and try and squeeze his way through. Turning into the right-hander. And now down the hill back towards the complex again, through the corkscrew. And again, remember, there is still going to be one more sequence of pit stops, if I'm correct. And then we'll get our last set of drivers in as the sun continues to blaze a bit more. It's a bit slightly confusing weather conditions at the moment. We've got sun out, but we've also got some fairly ominous grey and dark clouds kind of over one side of the circuit. So this being the British summertime, who knows what the weather's going to do, but it's currently sunny at the moment, so we'll enjoy it whilst it lasts. And Fabio Randaccio, if he's not careful, his third position might not last any longer, because if he keeps running wide like that too much, he might well get the tail up of Christian Rose and give him a chance to put the Team Olympian car into the podium places with about 40 minutes to go. He lines him up again in the slipstream, but Franchini senses it, goes one way, then goes the other. He puts the car very smartly right in the middle of the racing line to prevent any chance of Christian to sweep through. Gary Bates also keeping a watching brief. He's just very carefully studying this battle in front of him as they come out through the Rocket Complex. Now the short straight towards the right-hander at Peel. In a squeal of those GT tyres, they're working hard, and Fabio Randaccio, a little bit of a sideways slide there from Fabio. He's feeling the pressure here because Christian Rose is all over him. The big, mean green machine behind him is just trying to put him off here as they come back. Sorry, no, forgive me, it's Farkini at the wheel, sorry, my apologies. I recognise the white and red crash helmet. It is in fact Farkini at the wheel, so Farkini is the one that's driving. Christian Rose in second. Oh, he's second on the road to him. Fourth in the current position standings. Team Viking a couple of seconds back in 6th, and if these three keep on scrapping, they'll certainly be in the mix. There they are in the background, the yellow and black car, number 1110, and Christian Rose just peeks out, has a look, tries to force Farkini into a mistake here. Now down the back straight, they get another chance to get a run on him here. Towards School Corner, he's tucked underneath the rear wing. Which way is he going to go? Well, he goes the outside of School, but the inside for the braking zone at the Rocket Complex. Which way is he going? He thinks about the inside, but again, Farkini sweeps back to that inside and shuts the door firmly in the face of Team Olympian. But again, Christian Rose doesn't finish. He's looking for the undercut, and that Gary Bate thinks, hey, I might fancy a look at that too, because you've left the door wide open. Is there a chance to get through here? Boss into Peel Corner, it's looking into the right-hander. And again, Christian Rose had to really stand on the anchors not to make contact. And remind, this is for position. It's for third and fourth in this race. This is after 2 hours and 20 minutes, and they're really not going at it hammer and tongs here. And there is still, I believe, another round of pit stops to go. So this is really going to shake up the order, and maybe one of them might want to pit first to get the undercut. Lead gap at the moment for the record is 6.9 seconds between Neil Plymouth and Andy Bicknell, as Farkini, Christian Rose and Gary Bate continue to dice and squabble over third, fourth and fifth, and it will also become sixth as well, because there is Mark Combe in the Team Viking number 110 car in the mix too. They've got the 99 GPR Black Widows car behind, and then just in front of that you've got the Cordwells. I think that now has Brian Caldwell back at the wheel of it, and I'll put Keane Joyce back in for the final stint. But here comes Christian Rose, the best chance he's had to get past Farkini, who has to give him room through School Corner. They're side by side on the sprint towards Rocket Corner. He's got the outside line and the racing line. Will Farkini dare diving back up the inside into the Rocket Complex? He thought about it, but he's watched Christian Rose go wide. He's forced him too deep into the corner. But Christian Rose parks it neatly on the apex. A little nibble of the rear bumper there from Farkini, but he's just about lost it. So Christian Rose with a daring pass there, even though Farkini tried to make it as hard as he could, wasn't able to make it. Now he's the one squirming around looking for grip on the exit appeal corner. But up now into third place goes Team Olympian, the defending champions, with Christian Rose at the wheel. He will hand over to Riley Phillips at the final pit stop. There's Gary Bate. He'll hand over to Simon Smith when they go to their final sequence of pit stops. So they really are closing in here. And if anything, I think the retaliation that Farkini is trying to make here is possibly bringing Greenheath and Viking back into play here. You think it was a 20-minute sprint race, not a 3-hour endurance, but it's a wonderful sight with these FunCup cars. And again, I'll reiterate, there is never a dull moment, regardless of the length of the race. It might be 3, 4, we've had 6 or 8 hour races before, and of course there is also the Spa 25 hours that takes, which I think is on is this weekend, in fact. So there happens to be anyone watching who is competing in the Spa 25 hours. Hello to any of the fellow FunCuppers who might be watching their British counterparts, who sadly, for the most part, aren't able to be over there due to obvious travel restrictions at the moment. Now then, because Mark Combe, is he going to have a look at the inside and make it get past Gary Bate here? Gary looked as though he might be leaving the door open, but they're all starting to concertina up here. The Black Widows car's in there too, and also let's also keep an eye on the Stand 2 Motorsport car as well. I think it's Ron McKinley at the wheel now, if I'm correct. It's the 5th stint. That is the 101 car, and no, it's Duncan Rogers has got back in again. So Duncan Rogers is in that car. Ron McKinley will jump in for the final stint, but all this battling back and forth and all this running in tandem here and just darting around is actually hindering the cars in front, and it's allowing Stand 2 Motorsport to start to close in. There they are in the background, just coming out of the final corner, and also not far behind them, that is Sam Smith. Now Sam Smith, of course, remember that when that car had at the wheel of it Nigel Greensall, it was one of the fastest, if not the fastest car on track, and it was picking off cars left, right and centre. Now Sam Smith, who started the race and led early on by quite a commanding margin, is now starting to get his foot down and realises that he's going to try and make up as much time as he can, so that when he hands the car back to Nigel Greensall for that last stint, it's in the best position possible. And we know how quick Nigel is, of course. Oh, and that's the Team Viking car. Damage for the 110, that's suspension damage on the front left. Now then, whether that's damage from contact or a suspension failure, one of the leading contenders is in massive trouble here at Anglesey for this first race. And he may well have to park it off the circuit. That car's probably not going to go any further in this race. And it might well throw a late safety car into the mix if he can't get it back to the pit lane. The front left is practically falling off. Now that's either a suspension failure or a steering failure of some kind, but the Team Viking car with Mark Combe and Nick Nunn sadly pulls to a halt at Rocket Complex, and unfortunately that is another front-running contender that's hit strife. Now then, if that's part where it is, I wouldn't put it past senior clerk of the course, to possibly make that a safety car, I think, to get that recovered, because there have been cars that have been further off the racing line that have been a safety car course. There it is, parked on the grass, and Mark Combe must be getting out in absolute disbelief, thinking, what on earth happened there? But the marshal's over there to make sure he's okay. Now, what this will mean is, until we get a decision whether it stays green, for length it stays green, I'm sure there's probably going to have to be a safety car here, because senior clerk of the course, Ray Sumner, of course, will decide whether or not to throw it and to send the RunYourFleet.com safety car back out on circuit once again, I think for its 4th appearance this afternoon. As now, this is going to be careful because, yeah, Farkini saw the yellow flags going into the complex and thought, right, I can't make a move here. And there it is. Safety car has been thrown once again. Safety car deployed once more at Anglesey. And dramatically and cruel and sadly, it is for the Team Viking boys. Oh dear. This is going to make quite a grandstand finish, I think. I think it might well come just at the beginning, or it might work just as it come towards the last pit stop window. Because the pit stop window isn't open yet, but I think when it'll open possibly at half an hour. So depending on how quickly they can get this recovery done, whether or not this safety car period will be within the beginning of the last pit window, we'll have to wait and see. Well, there is the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car on duty once again. It has been since the start of the season, of course, when it started back in May at Donington Park, and good to see. But more slow-mo action there. That's the 157. That's the call bells going past in slow-mo. But I think, unfortunately, the Vikings are going in more than slow-mo, and not even slow-mo. They're going to a complete halt, I'm afraid, and major front left suspension or wheel damage. Now, unfortunately, our cameras didn't quite catch what happened, unless we can get a report from one of our cameras so they possibly even saw what it was. But we did have a similar issue. I think if it was a suspension issue, there was a similar issue for the 262 track focus car at Donington Park. But it seemed to be more of a steering issue than it was a suspension problem. That looked more like a suspension problem of some kind. Whereas the steering issue for the 262 track focus car at Donington Park, it just literally could not turn. The wheel was jammed left. It just could not turn back again, which is a shame. But what a grandstand finish we can have here for this FunCup race. We've still got one more to go this evening, of course. And that could be even more dramatic given the fact that it's going to be running through the twilight into the darkness. So stand by, everyone, because this could be quite an entertaining one. Thank you to everyone who's still watching on the live stream as well, of course, on YouTube. We've got 174 of you by the looks of things watching, so thank you very much for you. Be sure to share the stream, and do be sure to share it around and get people some more eyes on it. Of course, if you're waiting for the likes of the Mazda MX-5 Championship and the National Northern Formula Fords, who've also got the British Supercarts as well, they're on the way. But before that, we can get a bit of a note from Jamie down the pit lane to possibly find out what might have happened to the Team Viking car and others who've been in strife.
So while we got a safety car out, I thought I'd have a quick chat with Fabio and Ben. They're just discussing what they're going to do with what they're doing on the restart, because obviously at the moment they're running first and third. So there's just having a quick chat. Was that some tactics there?
Tactics? I don't think our tactics have been very good this race.
It's been one of those races, hasn't it, where we've had an abnormally amount of safety cars in a short space of time as well.
Yeah, we have, which is quite fortunate for us because we've had a couple of things that have set us back. So the safety car is going to do us good and put us in for the contention at the end.
And it's getting hotter now, and we know this place is really abrasive. I mean, you're going to have to be mindful of tyres. We know they're durable, but as we've seen here before in the 8-hour race, we actually had to do some tyre changes, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, tyres have been a big problem for us this race. We've been sideways everywhere just because we've been struggling with tyre pressures, which is the first time we've had it since I can remember where the cars felt actually very nice. So yeah, I think tyres is going to be the big thing. But the thing is, with the safety car period, it gives your tyres a bit of an opportunity to settle and the pressure to drop. So.
All right, we'll wish you the best, and we'll catch up a little bit later. That was Fabio Randaccio of JPR UVO, Hoffman's Lotus, and let's see who else I can find, as it's a little bit of a lull down here. The pit window's not quite open yet. Riley Phillips is just ready. It's a bit fraught out there this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it has been. Yeah, with the safety car, things are get a bit hectic. So, yeah, hopefully we get a clean exit.
And you've made a good recovery from the start, haven't you? You've just been chipping away, staying out of trouble, but noticed that you've been pushing the car on the start. Is that just to try and ease the strain on the transmission?
We're not sure what it is. Yeah, the car won't start, so we've had to been bump starting it. since. So yeah, a bit unfortunate, but you know, there we go.
Okay, no problem. You're getting ready for your fuel stop, so we'll get ready. We'll hand back to you, Scott, for the moment. Are you okay?
No.
Thank you, Jamie. Back on track. As you say, the final pit stop window is getting close to opening here at Anglesey, and in fact, I think it has opened now. So we should get, I think, a traffic jam of cars heading straight into pit lane, which we don't actually. I thought we was going to get a few more cars, a lot of cars diving in, but maybe they're just getting the signal now that the pit window is open. Of course, these cars also do have pit car radios, which is one of the only championships I think in the UK they can have. They're going to do one more lap, I think, before they go ahead and open the pit windows and go in for the pits. So the RunYourFleet.com safety car is going to bring them back around again, and then I think it'll be quite intriguing if we do actually get a restart. Because if you get a restart just as they're going to go into the pit lane, you might not get very many cars taking the restart because they'll all be in the pit lane. So that might be quite an interesting situation. But I imagine they might possibly leave the safety car out maybe for at least one more lap, so if there are cars coming in for pit stops, they can at least let them catch back up again and then have an actual restart with some cars that are back in there and ready to go. So, quickly before this, because the order's going to shake up a little bit before this pit stop sequence, to give you a rundown of where we are then, with 28 minutes to go. PLR Racing leads the way, then Ben Pitcher's at the wheel of that car at the moment. Sorry. Penultimate driver, so I have to get them right again. Neil Plymouth now is driving that car. Andy Bicknell is now in second place in the Dispatch Bay Express car 221. It's now Christian Rose in car number 1 in Team Olympian. Farkini's now in car 225 for Uvia Hoffman's Lotus. It should be Gary Bates, who's in back at the wheel of car 14 for Team Greenheath. Sixth place for Sam Smith in the 263 Greenswell Motorsport car. Seventh place for Duncan Rogers in the Stanley Motorsport car. Eighth in car 212 is Steve Walton, and that's then followed by MJ Tech GT number 61 with Steve Walton at the wheel of that car, and then running up the top 10, having a not so conservative race, I suppose, anymore. It's Team Caldwell, because it's now Brian at the wheel, and then he'll hand over in the pit stop sequence to Kean Jewis. So Kean Jewis will finish the race on that one. EDF Motorsport popped up to 11th place as a result of the stoppage for Team Viking. 12th for We Have No Idea. And I'm also seeing as well the second Greenswell Motorsport car 125 is showing as having stopped on circuit. There's Kean Jewis then, waiting for his car to come in. So of course it'll be Brian that's hands over. And I think we expect, is it a big pit for traffic? Yes, it is. It's a huge traffic jam, and everyone is going to pit lane and getting on with it. So they're all in. PLR, Uvio, all the top 7 are in. Make Happen Racing is, but all the top 11 are in. Just look at how the timing screen is updating. It's probably the busiest I've seen a FunCup pit lane for at least a long while. And whilst that goes on, the Mark Home car with Mark Home sat on the back of it. Probably not the free ride back to the pits he was expecting, but on the back of a low loader sat there. That's quite a weird experience on the back of a low loader after a car's gone off like that. But anyway, the rest of everyone peeling back out after their driver changes, and also possibly final refuelling. So it's all crucial with the fuel strategy, whether they do take a pit stop or take fuel off the pit stop or not, and also if they do, whether it's one churn or two, because some people do double fuel at a fuel stop. So out goes 99 JPR Black Widows. They go to Stanley Motorsport car. That was good. Stanley car had to really be very careful to not have an unsafe release there, but it looks as though, incredibly, just about everyone else has got through all okay. And from that sequence with the safety car, in terms of all the cars that have gone back out and back through again, it looks like it's Team Olympian who have won the race out of pit lane. So Team Olympian, by the looks of things, are the ones that are leading. To find out what's been happening to some of the drivers that have just got out, though, for this final stint, let's head back over to Jamie to have a chat with some of the drivers who see how they found that rather frantic fifth stint out there at Anglesey.
So down at Team Olympian, we've just had probably one of our usual crazy pit stops. You arrived third, come out first. Perfect pit stop for you.
Yeah, it's what we wanted, what we asked for, but our starter motor isn't working, so we're having to bump start the car, push the car down the pit lane every time. So, which is bad in most cases, but when the pit lane is like this, full of cars under a safety car, it's bloody terrifying. But yeah, fingers crossed, Riley can bring it home now. We finally got to the front. It took a while.
And Chris, I mean, they've been busy 25-minute stints. You've not had a chance to sort of just chill out, have you? It's been full on. I mean, we saw you battling with Greenheath and Hugo. You know, it's hell for leather out there, isn't it? And we can see, bear in mind, he's only been in the car 25 minutes. It looks like you've done a 3-hour race.
It feels like it too. Yeah, busy start to finish. We started in essentially last place in the end. I think Chris made a mistake on the start, and we've just been trying to build a way through. Like I say, no starter motor, so every time we hit in, it's a struggle. We drop a few seconds normally, and it's just push, qualifying lap after qualifying lap every single time. Had a cracking battle with the UVO, who are going a little slower than usual. Not sure they got a slight problem with the tyres overheating or whatever it is, but they were defending hard. But it was a cracking fun up there with Farkini.
I think you deserved your beer after race 2.
I hope so. Oh yeah, second race. I'm knackered already. Right, cheers Jamie, All
right, thanks mate, we'll catch up later. That was Christian Rush from Team Olympian. Yeah, we have to remind some of them that they have to do another race, so not quite going on downtime just yet. But Scott, as you saw down here, typical FunCup fashion, everyone's smiling. Yes, we've had a little bit of attrition, but hey, there's still another 3 hours to go later on this evening. Back to you.
Certainly is, and thanks to the good team from Christian Rose, of course. You had that fantastic battle with Farkini out on track, back and forth for position, and now it's the turn of Riley Phillips versus Fabio Randaccio versus Ben Pitch versus Harry Mailer versus Simon Smith versus Nigel Greensall and practically everyone else that could be in contention here, because this could be, for this last roughly 25 minutes or so, quite a barnstorming finish. And I don't use that term lightly, because we've got practically some of the faster guys. Most of the teams seem to have their faster or fastest guys out in the cars. It's all close back up together again from these safety cars that we've had. This could be quite a thrilling finish, this first FunCup race of 2 today. And again, I remind you, you've just joined us. Yes, there is another one of these, and it does go for 8 o'clock tonight from the twilight into the darkness. That could be even more exciting when we start to get rid of the lights and everyone sticks their headlights on. So the running order then after the pit stops to confirm it then. Team Olympian lead the way now before we get ready to very shortly get back underway with this restart, with the lights I think are still on at the moment. PLR Racing is second after having dropped down from the lead. Then it's Uwe Hoffmann's Lotus in third, 4th place for Dispatch Bay Express, 5th for Team Greenheath, 6th for Greensall Motorsport, 7th for Make Happen Racing, 8th for Stand 2 Motorsport, 9th for MJ Tech GT, who are still on that behind, but they're doing well running in the top 10. And then the Cordwells, who they might be a dark horse actually, because now they've got Kean Jewis behind the wheel. He might well start to pick off some of the cars in front of him. He is... Forgive me, I say that. He is at the moment, I think. Okay, right. He's a lap behind Stand 2 Motorsport and MJ Tech GT, so he might well make some good progress on track. But whether he can pick up another lap in 20 minutes or so, tall order. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it looks possibly quite unlikely. But stranger things have happened in motorsport, so we might well see it happen. Anyway, let's just confirm with drivers into who we've got in what. So it is now Riley Phillips at the wheel of car number 1. It is Ben Pitch back at the wheel of car 146 for PLR Racing. Fabio Randaccio will take the 225 Uwe Hoffmann's Lotus car to the end. It'll be Harry Mailer back at the wheel of the 221 Dispatch Bay Express car. Team Greenheath now has Simon Smith at the wheel. 263 Nigel Greensall has Nigel Greensall back at the wheel of it now in 6th. And he will definitely want to watch on this restart. Watch for him try to pick his way through the top 5 as quick as he can, if possible. 7th place for Make Happen Racing should have Greg Evans at the wheel. So Steve Walton would have been in that previous stint. It's then Stand 2 Motorsport, who has Warren McKinley at the wheel for their last stint. It's now 9th place for MJ Tech GT. And for their last stint, they have Scott Jeffs. And rounding out the top 10, Team Corwell, who we know has Kean Jewis. We have no idea. Car number 107, which is 11th place at the moment. That has now Paul Calladine at the wheel. EDF Motorsports car 104 has now Simon Coles after he's taken over from Charles Graham again. And then we've got 12th in Team, of course, in Team Viking, who are currently sat in 13th, having stopped, but then GT Radio should pick up some more laps and be ahead of them towards the end. So it has been a rather attrition-filled race, one of probably the most attrition-filled races that we've had for a while in FunCup Championship, but I think we're about to turn it up to 11 in a second, because we're 20 minutes to go and the leaders all compacted back up together again with some of the fastest guys on the grid all together in cars at the same time, with the defending champions at the head of the field. This could get spicy. Strap in for 20 minutes to finish off the first of 2 races for the FunCup Endurance Championship here at Anglesey, as out of the final corner goes Riley Phillips. He leads them across the line. Green flag with 20 minutes to go in this first FunCup race. Ben Pitch has gone with him in second place. It's now Fabio Randaccio, third for Uvia Hoffman's Lotus. Fourth for Dispatch Bay Express is Harry Mailer. And already trying to charge his way through the back markers there. The back, you can see just to the left of shot, is Nigel Grinsell. He picks his way past the back marker. I think that is I can't quite tell exactly who it was, but a chase should be on for second here already. In towards Church Corner. Up the inside goes Fabio Randaccio, and if he leaves the door open, it might not be well enough for Ben Pitch, because he could also let possibly through Harry Mailer in the slipstream. Already, Riley Phillips has checked out in front, but second, third and fourth are right. And also, we see that Simon Smith is under threat for Nigel Grinsell. He's already up the outside. He's got into 5th position already. Into P5 goes Nigel Grinsell as now the scrap for second goes on, and here comes Grinsell sailing on to the back. Said, hello boys, remember me, I'm in the mix now for 5th position. I might even go for possibly a podium. 20 minutes left then to settle who wins round 3 of the 2021 FunCup Endurance Championship race, and it could be any one of these 5 cars in front. Phillips making the early escape. Randaccio, little squirrely under brakes as he comes down through the corkscrew. Being chased hard by Harry Mailer in 3rd place. 4th is still Ben Pitch. A feisty and rapid Nigel Grinsell in 5th place in the Grinsell Motorsport car. And running wide on the exit of the bus stop, there goes Ben Pitch, and it might well just allow the opportunity for Nigel Grinsell to slip back up the inside to take 4th position from the PLR Racing Machine. They're 2nd and 3rd. What's happening for 4th behind them? Mailer has a look on the back of Fabio Randaccio, and is Grinsell through? Yes, he is. He's got through up to P4. So another place gain for Nigel Grinsell in car 263. Is he about to drive it all the way to the front, or are the top 3 going to make it a lot more difficult? Through Church. I think someone else has run wide in front. I'm not sure if that was either the leader. No, I think it was a back marker, I think, because Riley Phillips seems to be okay. Switch on for second, possibly. Here comes Harry Mailer. Down the outside, he'll be on the outside line for Rocket Complex. Can he get himself in front under the brakes? Randaccio tries to lean on him into the corner, but for the next corner with a nice perfect switch back into the right-hander for the second part of Rocket. And into second place goes the 221 car, Harry Mailer. So, position changes within the top 5, fast and frantic, but all this battling is only helping Riley Phillips sail off up the road. There's Fabio Randaccio in 3rd place, but look behind them, because still on the prowl is Nigel Grinsell. There he is. Now that Harry Mailer's managed to clear Fabio Randaccio, is he able to start chasing after Riley Phillips? And I guess the bigger question has to be as well, is Nigel Grinsell's pace quick enough to even catch and pass all 3 of them in the next 17 minutes? We're looking at the lap times. The lap time just set by Riley Phillips was a personal best for that car, 1:20.892 in front. The lead gap is now 2.2 seconds between the top 2. Dispatch Bay Express, Harry Mailer's last lap was a 1:20.921, and Grinsell Motorsport last lap was a full second faster than Fabio Randaccio. So Nigel Grinsell has absolutely pulled the pin, and he's going for it in this final stint. Out of Church. In the slipstream, there goes Riley Phillips, second now for Harry Mailer, but here comes Nigel Grinsell. Randaccio tries to squeeze him onto the inside of Score Corner. They lean on each other, they're on towards Rocket Complex and down towards Rocket, and unfortunately Randaccio, he has to back out of it, he has to capitulate, and into 3rd place goes Nigel Grinsell. He's driving it to the front. 1 more taken. He's got 2 more cars to go and 16.5 minutes to catch and pass them. Is it about to be a first win in FunCup for the Smiths in their, I think their 3rd meeting of the year? And they're about to do it with someone who is against a veteran. The big corner cut there for Nigel Grinsell as he clips his way through. I think we also could potentially be able to get a Masters car about to win as well, because of course the Smiths with Nigel Grinsell will of course are past the Masters category, and they are on to try and give themselves a victory overall, if possible. Now, I think that the tyre overheating, which I think Fabio Randaccio was talking about before he jumped into this car, might be coming back to bite them in this latter stages, because the pace they had early on has started to fade away, and Ben Pitch can sense it here, because there's a real chance for him to possibly try and pick up 4th position. Oh, that's Riley Phillips! Riley Phillips, the leader, is in trouble! Riley Phillips has either that's damage or possibly an engine issue, and for the third race in succession, the reigning champions are in trouble. That is simply unbelievable. For the third time in 3 races, they are denied victory by more reliability problems. That is absolutely gutting for Team Olympian, and Riley Phillips throws the door open in disgust, and he cannot believe that it's happened again. Out he gets, and the body language says it all. And he looks up and says, what on earth do I have to do to get some luck in this championship? That is absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, the body language says it all. I'm not surprised. And that brings, once again, with 14 minutes to go, another safety car appearance. And crucially, Nigel Greensall is now in second place, and he will be right on the tail of Harry Mailer on this restart. It will literally be about roughly a less than 10-minute sprint to the end. Talk about drama in the FunCup Championship. I said there was never a dull moment. This is proving us absolutely right. And there it is. And that makes for quite a sorry sight, I'm afraid. And that's absolutely heart-wrenching for Team Olympian and for Christian Rose and Chris DeVell and Riley Phillips. They put practically not a wheel wrong all day. And then to have the victory snatched away from them in that fashion is absolutely gutting for them. So, more drama then. And then once again, the entire complex, the entire complexion of the race changes again, because it now means that we're going to have possibly another sprint to the flag. There's a piece of bodywork on the floor. I'm not sure if it was related to the Team Olympian car, or that's just a piece of bodywork for somebody else. It looks like, I think that's on the exit of Peel Corner, but the recovery thing, and yeah, Riley Phillips must be absolutely crestfallen at that. He had victory taken away from him on a fuel miscalculation at Donington Park. He then had an engine blow at Silverstone. It looks like for the second time it's happened again here at Anglesey. So unfortunate. So it now means the victory is pretty much, I would say arguably, between any one of the first 5 cars. Because we've now got, of course, Dispatch Bay Express still leading the way with Harry Mailer. A very quick Nigel Greensall in second place. Ubia Hoffman's Lotus in third, with Fabio Andaccio at the wheel. Fourth place to PLR Racing with Ben Pitch. And then Team Greenheath up to 5th position, and that's Simon Smith. The rest of the top 10, we've got Make Happen Racing in 6th position. And that's going to be Greg Evans in P6. P7 is going to be Stand 2 Motorsport with Warren McKinley at the wheel. 8th place is now going to be MTech GTs. They're moving up steadily despite being a lap behind in 8th position, and that's still going to have Scott Jeffs at the wheel. Going into 9th place will be the Caldwells with the Team Caldwell car with Kean Jewis at the wheel, and then EDF Motorsport, the Eddie Farrow squad, who will jump up into 10th position, and that is the 104 car, which currently has Simon Coles at the wheel. He's sharing that car with Charles Graham. We said we'd give you plenty of entertainment and plenty of drama, and even in the first race of the weekend, we've had so much of it, literally from start to finish. And this could be quite a thrilling conclusion to this third round of the championship. Big thank you to the marshals and to all of our recovery crews for working so quickly and so efficiently to keep us in contention keep us racing and getting things back underway as quickly as possible. So, place your bets, everyone, because this could be we thought that with 20 minutes to go it was going to be a nail biter. Now it's guaranteed. Pax continues to form up behind the runyourfleet.com safety car. Less than 11 minutes to go in this race, and the Jaguar XF Sport Brake leads the pack around in order. And as we said, the first 5 cars in the queue are literally the first 5 cars in the race order. there is the Team Olympian car being taken back to the paddock, and Riley Phillips, of course, on board with that. To get some luck this year. I'm not sure whether it's the curse of a number one or not, but just isn't getting the rub of the green this year, and that's no pun intended, given the fact his car's green at all. So that car, well, again, they'll have to work on that to hopefully get it out for the second race later on tonight, and hope that they can get it onto the grid in order to minimise any potential loss of points. But they'll certainly do the best they can to work hard. Team Olympian squad will do all they can to ensure that they can work hard. They'll have several hours to do so. That the race is set to be at, it's scheduled to be at 5 to 8 tonight, and it runs for 3 hours. So the race will finish at roughly around about just before 11 o'clock tonight. So if you fancy some motorsport this evening, you might want to stick around, because there'll be quite a bit of it tonight. If you've enjoyed this first FunCup race, you think, I want to see another one, you're in luck, because there is a second one coming. And as we say, it starts in the twilight at 5 to 8, and it runs all the way until just before 11 o'clock. So it's a late one tonight for the BRSCC, but many thanks to everyone involved at Anglesey, and also, of course, to the BRSCC Northwestern Centre, who are helping the club run this meeting. So thank you much to the marshals, to all the officials and volunteers, to everyone, of course, up in race control, and all the recovery teams, and everyone who just makes this event happen, because without them, genuinely, this race meeting just could not happen at all. So all their hard work and efforts is very much appreciated, and it's helping us get to what could be quite a thrilling finish. Right, safety car lights are out. Get ready. I thought we were getting prepared for a dramatic finish on the restart about 10 minutes ago. Now we're about to get possibly even more thrilling one. Are we about to see a grandstand finish to this third round of the 2021 FunCup Endurance Championship, or is the writing on the wall, and is the pace of Nigel Greenswell going to be too strong, or is Harry Mailer going to be able to get the jump and pull away? He took a very big cut on the inside of the corkscrew as he went out on the restart there. To be very careful not to spin the wheels and possibly lose the car on the exit. But cross line they go. 7 minutes 50 seconds to go. This is hopefully should be it for the final few minutes of this first race of the weekend for FunCup. Top three make an immediate sprint away from the restart. Harry Mailer leads then back into the hairpin once more. Second for Nigel Greenswell, a lock-up for the 263 car. Third place now for Fabio Randaccio. Fourth for Ben Pitch. Fifth for Simon Smith. There go the Caldwells. They're a couple of laps down with Keane Jewis at the wheel. He'll want to get his elbows out and get stuck in as well. Stand 2 Motorsport in 6th. There's the Black Widows car, which has had a bit of quite a bad luck, but it's still running in 16th place, 7th in the Masters category. And the top 4 have broken away pretty substantially. They've left the Team Greenheath car behind, which itself is now coming under threat from the Caldwell car with Keane Jewis at the wheel. And Keane Jewis has got 3, he's unlapped himself, so it also relies on him. He'll only be, well, he's got himself a lap back on the Team Greenheath car, but he's still 2 laps off the lead, so he won't be finishing higher at the moment at least, any higher than 9th, but not bad for his debut. There's the Stand 2 car kicking up a bit of dust. This is the battle we want to see. Harry Mailer, the 221 Dispatch Bay Express car, being hunted down by Nigel Greenswell in a car run by himself, and of course sharing with the trio of Smiths, Sam, Simon and Ted. They've all had their stints. Now it's Nigel's turn to bring that car home. And what about Ovio Hoffman's Lotus? Have won the last 2 races. Is there anything left in those tyres for Fabio Randaccio to make a challenge? Or have they simply pushed too hard too soon? Is it now a scrap between the top 2 at the moment, and is even his 3rd place under threat now? Is that even safe? Because if Ben Pitch has any tyres left in better condition than Fabio, surely that must be an opportunity for him to steal away a podium. Here they come through School Curve. 5 minutes, and you can tell Nigel Greenswell's pushing. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 20.339. He's on the charge. He runs. Oh, that's Harry Mailer running a little bit deep, but he just sweeps across to try and deny Nigel Greensall the chance to get through. Greensall again tries to get his way up the inside and show his nose to Harry Mailer, but he can't quite do it. Out of Rocket into Peel. Greensall is on the charge, and you can tell that Mailer's having to push as well because he set his personal best on last lap to try and get away from Greensmith. And the difference in lap time was about 1/10 of a second. And I think arguably, yes, he would have been the fastest lap of the race for Harry Mailer had Nigel Greensall not gone 1/10.5 faster. Across the line they go then. And again, Greensall was 2/10 quicker on that lap as he's now right under the rear wing of the Dispatch Bay Express car. Through turn 1, up towards the banking. 5 minutes to go, and that's Harry Mailer running deep. He's run too deep. He goes onto the outside line, and through goes Nigel Greensall. The pressure has finally got to Harry Mailer, and he's lost out to the lead. It's now Nigel Greensall who slips past into the lead for 263 Greensall Motorsport. And surely with the pace advantage, it is now advantage Greensall who'll start to draw away unless Harry Mailer's got anything left here in the slipstream. He's going to come back at him through School Corner. Which way would he go? Outside or inside into Rocket Complex? He will go to the outside. He puts him alongside into the braking zone. Into Rocket Complex, looking for the undercut. Nose to tail, there's third place of Fabio Randaccio, 4th for Ben Pitch. And incredibly, Cian Jewis, who is 9th at the moment in the Team Caldwell car, has caught the guys in 3rd and 4th. He won't make up any more positions, but I think he'll be enjoying himself in the mix. Now then, Harry Mailer managed to stay with him initially after he was passed in the first few corners, but is it going to be too much now, pace-wise, for Harry Mailer to stay with the Greensall Motorsport car? I think, given the fact he set the fastest lap of the race, it might well be, but now they come out of the bus stop and the guys at the pit wall will have seen it on the run in towards the hairpin, or at least on the exit, that Nigel Greensall has hit the front in car 263. 3.5 minutes to go now in this first FunCup race, and Harry Mailer gets very close under brakes. He knows he's got to do something, but he's moving around and car's a little bit too loose for his liking, and that will just, he might be getting a little bit, not desperate, but pushing as hard as he dares. There's your leader. And look at the way Harry Mailer is just absolutely throwing the car into the corners. He's so desperate to stay in contention here and possibly get an opportunity. But Nigel Greensall, like many, quite a wily old fox, and he's very, very wise. He's driven, there's hardly anything he hasn't driven. He's driven everything from FunCup cars to historics to the 90s Formula 1 cars he's driven back in Euroboss. I think he was even a Euroboss champion at the wheel of an old Tyrrell. So Nigel Greensall, anything he hasn't driven probably isn't worth driving, because he's driven some pretty substantial machinery and he is a very formidable driver with a lot of experience, so he will be keen not to lose that too much time. In fact, you can see his pace advantage even there. He was 0.8 of a second quicker than Nigel, although Harry's getting closing back in here. 2.5 minutes to go now. There's going to be 2 more laps, I reckon. Lap times are 1:21, so they might get, there's going to be 2 more laps to go. So, penultimate time into turn 1, and on the last lap, now that's interesting, Harry Mailer did find a 10th. So he's managed to claw a 10th back on Nigel Greensall, and he's that much later on the brakes. It's youth versus experience. Nigel Greensall versus Harry Mailer at the front of the field here. And Mailer seems to have woken up now. He's right back on the rear wing again of Nigel Greensall. Throws it into Church Corner. He's right on his rear bumper. This is not done. Harry Mailer's in the slipstream here, exiting Church Corner. Is he going to be a chance to move here? With 2 laps to go in this first race at Anglesey. Which way is he going to go? Greensall puts the car in the middle of the road. Left or right, which way will he go? He looks to the outside, he can put himself alongside and sweep around the outside line. There might be a chance for an undercut. He tries to let Greensall go deep. He does go a little deep on the exit. And again, looks for the switchback, but he won't make it through just there. Talk about a grandstand finish in this FunCup race. And again, like we said at the beginning, forget the race length, it is action all the way from start to finish. There is plenty to talk about, and there has been plenty to talk about in this first 3-hour race. It has been absolutely sensational to watch. Through the corkscrew, second to last time. Greensall is using everything he has to try and hold on. Into the bus stop for the second to last time. This will be the final lap. 1 minute and 5 on the clock, and Mailer is swarming around trying to have a look. Is there a chance here to have a look to try and get through? Through turn 1, through the banking. Mailer's back as close as he's ever been. Wider approach into the banking. If he can get a good slingshot here, he might get a chance to possibly try and drag him all the way up through Church and up towards Rocket once again for the last time. He's right there as close as he needs to be. What a fantastic finish to literally only the first race of the weekend. There's plenty more still to come out from the sprint races, but here he comes, looks left and right. He has to try and make a move. He's trying to distract Nigel Greensill while swarming around in his mirrors. But Nigel's wise to that, and he certainly won't fall for that too much. Back towards the complex of Rocket, up the hill under brakes. Again, Greensill puts the car straight in the middle of the road. He's denying any chance of Harry Miller to try and get through. The UVO Hoffman's Lotus car, Fabio Randaccia, looks like he's going to have to settle for third place. Half a lap to go, and all Nigel Greensill has to do is keep it pointing straight and true. Takes a big cut at the inside line at Peel Corner. He's throwing everything he has to here to try and hold on. Into the corkscrew for the final time. What a drive it's been from towards the back of the grid. He's taken his car by the scruff of the neck, and he's going to take his first victory in a while, along with a first victory for the Smiths to head out of the final corner after a nail-biting and thrilling FunCup endurance race. It is Greensill Motorsport car 263 that takes victory in the first race at Anglesey. Nigel Greensill, Sam, Simon and Ted Smith with a brilliant win. What a fantastic finish it was to that incredible 3-hour race. Swarming behind him at only 0.4 of a second behind with Dispatch Bay Express in second place. Harry Mailer and Andy Bicknell. What a drive it was towards the end. And in third place, after their 2 victories, they're denied 3 in a row. It is Fabio Randaccio and Farchini who make up the final step on the podium. Then PLR Racing is 4th, Team Greenheath is 5th. Then it's Make Happen Racing 6th, Stand 2 Motorsport 7th, and MJ Tech GT. Team Caldwell and EDF Motorsport round out the top 10 as we see a fantastic slow-mo of the finishing. That's the margin it was. They came across the line as Nigel Greensill puts 2 wheels onto the grass to celebrate with his team. And breathe. That was an incredible way to kick off the weekend here at Anglesey. What a superb race. A lot of attrition, yes, but even so, plenty of drama, plenty of action, plenty of drivers charging their way through the field. And in the end, what a brilliant scrap we had between Nigel Greensill, the experienced, the wily old fox, man, he's driven so much stuff over the years, and the young charger Harry Mailer, who really kept him honest all the way through to the end. We thought as though the mistake he made up at the hairpin at the banking, thought it might have been that. Nigel Greensill might have had the pace advantage. 1 lap he was 8/10 quicker or so. We thought that was it. It could have been done. But then Mailer came back. He threw everything he could at him. He was on all the way on the rear wheel of Nigel Greensill's car. He was looking left, right, inside, outside, any way he could try and get through. But Greensill stood firm and he held on to take the victory. That is his first win in quite a while, and I believe it's also the first win for the Smiths. So congratulations to Sam, Simon and Ted Smith. Their first win as a trio, and of course helped, alongside it, to add to their brilliant contributions by the expertise of Nigel Greensill. Let's head down to the pit lane. I'm sure we're going to get some reaction from our race winners after what was an amazing finish to an absolutely thrilling and classic FunCup race. How about that?
What an end to the first 3-hour race. Greensill Motorsport, the Smith family, you've done it. You've won your first ever race, Ted. How are you feeling?
Oh, amazing, brilliant. Can't be happier. Fantastic, yeah, great.
And Simon, in true FunCup fashion, Nigel left it to the very end, didn't he?
Well, he took his time. Yeah. I think he was just showing off, actually. But brilliant drive from Sam at the start when he was in the lead. We had to
even out.
Yeah, and we had 2 safety cars in our stint, and then, as you saw, then Nigel had another safety car to contend with, but.
You did at Silverstone. You're going to have to start at the back and come through again. You did it in 12 minutes at Silverstone. Can you do it again?
Oh, I don't know about that. I bet you Nigel wants to do the first stint. Yeah, you know what he's like. But yeah, no, it'd be great to start at the back, and we'll just see what happens.
And Simon, as a family, it must mean so much to you as well, doesn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's just a dream. I never thought I'd be on the racetrack sharing a car with my 2 sons. It's just fantastic.
I bet you'll set me off now, but good luck. We've got to do it all again, boys. Enjoy the rest of your evening while we have a bit of downtime. Second place was Dispatch Bay Express, and third place was UVO Hoffman's Lotus. Unfortunately, everyone's down in Parc Fermé now.